105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present
Touchdown Cowboys!
Dallas Cowboys Football 2024 in crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Oh, what a blessing it is to be here at AT&T Stadium for some Cowboys football Monday night style, Bryan Broaddus. And guess what? We're looking for back-to-back home victories. We're looking for a 3-game heater, the first of the season for the Cowboys, as your LSU Tiger Joe Burrow and his LSU brother Jamar Chase storm into AT&T Stadium, where the roof will be open and the party will begin in 3 hours and 14 minutes. How you doing, Broaddus?
I'm doing very well. I've had some LSU fans come up to me and give me the Go Tigers with the the fingers of the L, and they're all wearing Joe Burrow jerseys. So nice. I guess what you got is you got LSU fans who are coming to see our hero, our heroes, put it that way. This would be an interesting contest for the Cowboys tonight, just from the aspect of having to deal with these weapons that the Bengals have. And it's amazing when you watch their tape, their record the way it is, their offense the way it is, and you're kind of like, how? Just how? And I don't know how to really explain it. Their defense hasn't played well, and that used to be kind of their calling card. If you remember the runs that they had against the Chiefs and in AFC Championship games, there's always that defense that was coming up with big plays, and right now they're giving up a lot of big plays, but their offense is playing like a Super Bowl type of offense.
Right.
Their defense is playing like a team that's going to have the 8th pick.
I know.
Yeah.
It really is. It's one of the more interesting teams that I can remember, where they have one entire unit that is top flight in the sport. Top 5,
right.
And then the other unit is just as bad,
right?
And it's crazy to imagine. So the Cowboys defense will have their hands full tonight with Joe Burrow, and in particular the passing attack, right? I mean, Chase and Higgins. Yeah. Chase Brown is respectable. Fantasy owners know them some Chase Brown.
Sure.
He's quick, to and through. But they really want to lean on that drop-back passing game.
They absolutely do want to lean on the drop-back passing game, because that's how they get those explosives, and we always talk about those big plays, those chunk plays, and there's no better team in the league in the red zone than what the Cincinnati Bengals will throw at you. But Joe Burrow is there's been some time where teams have rushed him, have blitzed him, have gone after him. I know you were talking about it a little bit earlier. His ability to move and slide in the pocket is really good. Mm-hmm. But there's times where he slid into some sacks, and that's just because the right side of his offensive line, with Mims at tackle and stuff.
Rookie.
Yeah, they've had some problems over there.
It gets chaotic for him there in that pocket.
It does.
It's like,
he's having to move, and the real chance, if you're a Cowboy fan tonight, is that Joe Burrow, that the Cowboys pressure, and we've seen this for Mike Zimmer. We've seen Mike Zimmer dial up pressure, whether it's bringing Overshown as that poor man's Micah Parsons. We've seen him bring Donovan Wilson as a safety blitzer. You're not going to fool Joe Burrow in a lot of ways. They're going to try and run the slants, the hitches. Those are the things. The vertical go ball, that's going to be something that we're going to see tonight. But, you find a way to get to Joe Burrow. And when he gives up sacks, you watch him, he'll pull that ball down. Mm-hmm. It's like he'll give it the pump fake and then, pull it down, and now it ends up as a sack. And, Joe Burrow has been injured enough to where you get him corralled in the pocket, he's going down. He ain't interested in fighting and trying to spin and turn and all that.
Right.
No, he's like, get sacked and fight for another play.
So he's not really taking off on you, like the threat of him running.
This is where it's at, and with the last few weeks, what have the Cowboys have faced? Some teams that can run the football.
Yes.
It seems like every week we're talking about running game, running game, running game.
Especially Washington a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the Bengals are a team that, like you mentioned it about Chase and those guys and their ability, how they're going to run or try and run the football. But, man, it is not one of the things that they hang their hat on. And if you're Dallas, you got to kind of feel like you can't get lulled to sleep thinking, okay, we're not having to deal with Saquon Barkley or Robinson or one of these, Tracy, one of these runners that they've had the last several weeks. It's a little bit different. It's a rushing attack that, if you look at the analytics, is very similar to how you've rushed the ball. I mean, Zach Moss, they didn't get anything with Zach Moss before he went on IR.
I mean, they were making a trade at the deadline for Khalil Herbert because they needed backup.
And Herbert hasn't really played that much.
No.
So, that's kind of where the Bengals are at. Their whole thing is going to be, can we outscore you because we know our defense can't hold up?
Well, I'm trying to figure out because Zach Taylor, young head coach who's taking his team to the AFC Championship game, taking his team to the Super Bowl. But, I mean, when you watch his offense, does it jump out at you like some of these others where it's like, man, he's doing a lot of stuff here? Or is it just they line up and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are just better than you? T. Higgins is just better than you?
I think there's a lot of masking of problems with their offensive line. I really and we'll have Dave Lapham on, who was a former Bengal offensive lineman himself back in the day.
Yep.
And he'll probably talk about but knowing Dave Lapham, he'll cheerlead on his way to telling us about that offensive line block, block guys, block. And so
I love his
energy. I love his energy. I really, really do. I'm saying that in all fun. But the thing with Cincinnati is that if they, it's amazing, like I keep saying, that they get away with that ability that Joe Burrow just sits in the pocket, boom, throws. And let me tell you what, every game he's played this year, here's another little metrics thing for you. We always talk about the threshold of 2.5, I'm getting the ball out, get the ball out before 2.5. That's kind of your threshold. He has not had a game this year where he's been below 2.5 throwing the football.
Burrow.
He's going to stand there and he is going to hold it until they get the break or they get the clear or they get the route. He is going to stand there and throw that football, and it's going to be over 2.5 seconds. And this kind of plays into Dallas's hands. Can you win? Can you win those quick, right, those initial first, that boom, right off the ball? Can you win that at guard and then get on him before he has a chance to make a throw or hold that ball as long as he likes to?
Obviously, we're awaiting word on whether or not Trayvon Diggs is going to play in this particular game. But the importance of him here on a night like this. Yeah. I mean, we never get to see Diggs and Bland play together, but Bland's played well.
Not this year, at least.
Jordan Lewis has been one of the best players on your defense, if not the best, most consistent. He's a dog, physical. You love him, but having Trayvon Diggs would be huge tonight.
It would be huge, and he hasn't played the last several weeks, but then when you reach out to folks in the organization and ask about it, it's like, we'll see. We'll see. And so is he healthy enough to go? We'll see. Is he going to be out this week? We'll see. And it'd be great to be able to have him out there, helping with T. Higgins and the other wide receivers, that the Bengals have, and being able to try and cover up things on this back end.
How do you play that if you're Zimmer, because Higgins is so dang good as well? Is it just like we're doubling Chase on every play?
That's why they see a ton of too deep. They see a lot of too deep coverage because people try and keep things in front. But what does Chase do? They go vertical and they get over top. 5 of his 13 touchdowns this year have been deep shots. So a lot of cover too. So what they try and do is have the ability to maybe cheat over or be in the area where the side of where Chase is going to run routes. So if you play single high, that means Hooker's got to be in the middle of the field, but he's got to cover so much ground.
It's a lot to ask
to get to get over there. So that's why so many teams play that cover 2, play 2 safeties on the hash and try and keep that bracket on Chase the best they can.
All right, it's the pregame show brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company, live here in the Miller Lite West Plaza of AT&T Stadium. It really is absolutely gorgeous out here right now. I know it's going to start. We're going to start re-layering as the sun goes down. It's a little breezy, but it feels fantastic. You're going to have the roof open for the game tonight, so that's exciting. And
I want to think about a light jacket or something if you're coming out here. Because like I say, when it gets that roof is going to open up, but the doors are going to stay closed. So there'll be no breeze. It'll just be through the top. So, if you're thinking about coming out, I see a lot of people out here in T-shirts and shorts. I hope they don't have to pay for that as this game wears on.
Well, cat's out of the bag with your pick. You're picking the Cowboys tonight.
I am picking the Cowboys tonight.
What gives you confidence that this Cowboys offense can do enough to stave off what we just talked about in the Bengals?
Running the football. I do feel like a healthier right guard. Now, Zach Martin went on IR today. Unfortunate loss for the Cowboys. But the Cowboys have been playing better. They, the matchup they had with the Steelers. Look at their quality wins that they've had. I'm not going to call the Giants, but that win against the Commanders, the win against the Steelers. What was the common denominator? Run the football. Mm-hmm. Be physical. Run the ball. I kind of feel like to beat the Bengals today, you're going to have to keep the ball away from them. You're going to have to go on some drives. Now, you can't go on 7-minute drives and then have the Bengals throw one pass and score in 50 seconds or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think the Cowboys' game plan today, and the Bengals will allow you to do this, is to run the football. And I think that's where not only with are we going to see, with Rico Dowdle, but maybe even some Ezekiel Elliott. Threshold.
Hold up. You think Zeke could have an impact tonight?
I'm just saying the number of rushes you're going to need. Get me to 30. That's the number you need to get to.
And in order to get there, you have to have the game within the balance score-wise.
Yes.
Right?
And then Cincinnati's allowed you to do that a lot of the time. There are a lot of these games where it kind of – but I think Dallas's defense plays well for that pass rush
stuff. Strength on –
Yeah. Usually Dallas is like, oh, this team runs the ball really well. Oh, Dallas is at a disadvantage. So, if all of a sudden Dallas finds a way, and this is the problem that Dallas runs into, they kick way too many field goals.
Oh, totally.
Way too many field goals. Cincinnati is one of the best red zone teams in the league. You're one of the worst defensive red zone teams in the league. That's a problem right now.
Huge.
So where I feel like with Dallas, though, get me to 30 on the rushes and find a way to kind of make this a muddy game and don't give Joe Burrow extra possessions. Turnover is always key in these things, too. Can you find a way to make sure that you're not turning the ball over in your end of the field and giving Joe Burrow and them those opportunities?
Yeah, last week for Rico, 4.7 yards per carry. You have 122 yards. You think that's enough to get it done? Because you can't just run the ball when you're getting 1 yard at a time. You need 4.5 yards a pop to be like, okay, we can stay at this.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's I think you have to be committed to doing this. To me, clock running is a good thing for the Cowboys. 1 yard runs, 2 yard runs. It looks bad, but you got to find it. The Bengals secondary will give you opportunities to convert on third downs. So Dallas staying ahead of the chains tonight. Mike McCarthy has to call a game where it's just not like, okay, first down throw, incomplete, now it's a second down run. We've seen that with Mike McCarthy. We've seen a 2nd and 21 turn into a draw for a first down. Mm-hmm. We've seen him do that. So I think he's going to have to kind of keep in mind, I play 4-down football the whole night against these guys.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like that you could punt a ton in this game and get away with it. I just don't think that's a recipe for anything any good.
What do you think about Ferguson being back tonight? How much of an impact?
I like it, and I like it from the aspect of how much single high that the Bengals play. And that single high is that safety in the middle field. We were talking about that earlier. When Dak and Ferguson were really humming along, it's those seam routes. Mm-hmm. It's those seam routes. It's up the field. The one thing Ferguson will do is he'll arc release, and then he'll, go straight up the field, and you can kind of find him in that area, though. So we'll see if the Bengals, in fact, pick him up with him running those seam routes. The linebackers are going to have a little bit of a tough coverage, and we'll see if the safeties can handle that as well.
You like what you're seeing with Hoffman and those guys on the interior, huh?
I do, and you know what? I would have never believed. I thought that maybe T.J. Bass would be better at this, but Brock Hoffman gives them a little bit of an edge inside, and an edge from a personality aspect. He is a guy that
he's a big nasty.
Yeah, it's like kind of like he's playing to the echo of the whistle.
Right.
Like guys on the ground, kind of the old Ben Dreith referee from back in the day. He's giving him the business. That's kind of where
he's a business giver.
He's a business giver, and I think that's kind of where tonight that things have kind of worked out for him. this way because he's brought a toughness and he's a healthy body.
All right, we're absolutely loaded here on the pregame show, as always, as we continue to get you set for kickoff Monday Night Football with the Bengals in town behind enemy lines at the top of the hour with Dave Lapham. Looking forward to that conversation.
I love it.
Analyst on the Bengals radio network, of course, Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales. But coming up next, we go inside the star with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. Under 3 hours to kickoff, and we're back right here on The Fan. All right, we're about to go inside the Star with our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt live here from AT&T Stadium. Under 3 hours to kick off Monday Night Football with Joe Burrow and the Bengals in town. The roof will be open, so that's exciting. And we'll go behind enemy lines at the top of the hour. Right now, though, before we get to Bobby, let's go ahead and throw it to today's player profile. It's a three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold standing by with Mazi Smith. CA, take it away, sir.
Mazi, it's been one heck of a year. These last 3 games, everybody's talking about you because you know how the analytics go. They just looking at all the grades and they say, this man is making an impression. How does that feel?
Yeah, man, I try not to pay too much attention to the outside noise and try to just stay focused on what I'm doing and my job and let that shine through.
Well, you know, you have to talk to Micah about that because he's pumping you up. He's saying, well, you're one of the main reasons things are getting done.
Got to stay the main reason. Or shoot, you know, like gotta go ahead and stay the main reason and keep up. We got more games and all that. I got an important position.
You are the strongest guy on this team. Jerry Jones said back in the day Larry Allen was the strongest guy and everybody knew it. He said you're the strongest guy they had since him. Does it help the fact that you tie up people and you're able to do what you need to do to help the rest of the defensive line and the linebackers? Because it's like sometimes it's dirty work that a lot of people don't really pay attention to.
Yeah.
It's not just sacks.
Yeah, you definitely need, we need more sacks, you know, from Mike, so got to try and pull some of that heat up off him and let him eat, you know, try and be a dominant enough player to attract the double team. You know, they shouldn't be having a double, you know, Mike and triple team Mike all the time. If he's doing that, you know, everybody else should be eating. So try and make sure we open it up for Mike.
You know, everybody love DQ. You got Zim now. Zim got a different style, but I'm trying to figure out if it just plays more to your style because he wants you to be like a D1. He wanted you to be bigger, to take advantage. Does this defense work better for you personally? Nothing against DQ.
Yeah, no, I think every defense that I've been in, I think last year was more a me problem than it was what DQ had going on. You know, I got a lot of respect for him and the way he coached, and I think that I could fit into any defense out there. So, but I also will say, you know, Zim definitely. I played that defense in college, so that's definitely playing to my strength. I done ran it before.
Yeah, excellent. And by the way, congratulations that Michigan went over Ohio State.
Yes, sir. We needed it.
And finally, tonight, Monday Night Football, the Bengals. Anything in particular you do on a night game that you prepare for? You eat a certain thing? You superstitious? You listen to certain kind of music on a night game?
I eat fish. I get some fried fish.
And wrap it on and call it a day.
Yeah, call it a day.
All right, good luck tonight, man.
All right, now thank you.
Incredible. Mazi Smith, a pregame fried fish to get the body ready and the mind and the soul prepared for battle. That is a true warrior. I love that. I love that. Speaking of warriors, let's welcome in our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, live here in the Miller Lite West Plaza. And, man, I'll tell you what, Bob, Mazi Smith, both of you guys, are we trending in the right direction here with Mazi?
Yeah, I don't know. I said this earlier this week, we're at 4 straight games where he's played well against the run, I feel like. So, once you string together 4 games in a row like that, especially with all the struggles he had with consistency, I'm not going to be the same sort of critic that I was. So
yeah,
I think right now,
be fair.
Yeah, 4 weeks, that's a trend.
Yeah.
He's trending towards being. He is right now. You have to say right now the player that he is. He's a good run defender. He's played the run well the last 4 weeks. He's obviously never going to be any sort of a pass rush monster for them. But in terms of what they drafted him to do, which was to help contribute in the run game, he's been good the last 4 weeks.
They need to wear Alex Kappa, the right guard, out today. And that's to me kind of where this defense the hinge point. Whether that's Micah at a rush level there, Zim needs to try and find out how to get Alex Kappa, the right guard, one-on-one as much as he can in this game.
Yeah.
Whether it's cover guys, blitz guys, whatever he has to do, I think that's kind of a point where I'd love to see Mazi be able to extend with the hands, get rid of him, play where he needs to play. Maybe he does win with some quickness and get in on Joe Burrow if he can.
Yeah, look.
I know I'm asking a lot.
No, but we've talked about it before. You've mentioned, Brian, generally, I can tell you if Mazi's going to win the rep or not. Did he get off well?
Yeah.
Did he get off the ball well?
Yeah.
If he did, and he gets his hands into the offensive line, he's a really impressive, powerful athlete. He's able to do a lot of impressive things. But the problem is that he's so frequently or has been over the course of his year and a half, almost 2 years here, he's last off the ball, and guys get their hands on him, and he just has trouble disengaging and shedding them. And so he's been better about that, getting off the ball. But I think, you're right in terms of trying to get those one-on-ones. That would be massively beneficial for them. And I think Zim's done a good job, really ever since the bye, of getting more favorable matchups that he wants on the defensive line and doing some different things with, alignment and putting guys in different places. We've seen a lot more, Micah Parsons at 3 technique.
There you go.
Hand in the ground doing different things. And so a lot of those double-A gap blitzes that he's showing, a lot of creeper blitzes. And so I think he's been creative and has had some success with it. And so if that's his end game, he wants to do that, I think he can.
Yeah, I think Ted Karras, the center, I think he's their best offensive lineman. So anything to keep Ted Karras from having to get over and help, whether it's Osa or Mozzie or whoever's playing inside for you today.
Yeah, try to do anything you can. And, some of that may be also with, twists and stunts and different games like that
that could be a problem.
Occupy the center a little bit.
Yep.
Bobby Belt with us here on the Fan. I think that chess match between Burrow and Zimmer, especially in those high leverage third down. I mean, Zimmer's been just loading it up with these third down blitzes. He can't wait to get you in third down and try to expose you. And when you have Micah and Overshown and then Osa playing the way he's playing, heck, Carl Lawson with the way he's been able to get after the quarterback and stuff. So I'm fired up. What is there a matchup or just a storyline in the game that has, because I think the Diggs thing is a huge factor there, whether he plays or not. This passing attack obviously is ridiculous.
I mean, if we're talking about Dallas's defense against the Cincinnati offense, I'm just going to be interested in general, especially if they're without Diggs, to see, all right, what are they doing to kind of counterbalance what they have with Jamar Chase and some of the things that Burrow's able to do. Burrow's gotten so much better with his pocket presence. He'll still step into sacks every now and then, but it's not the problem that it once was, and he's so smooth, just kind of sliding in the pocket, and he's probably the best anticipatory thrower in the NFL. And so I think that there's a lot that's challenging for them there, but specifically if you can get Jamar Chase under control and those 7, 8, 9 that he runs in the route tree, so often the posts, the corners, the go routes, I think that you're going to be able to slow this game down a little bit, and they're not going to be able to go up and down the field as much as they want. On the flip, for Dallas's offense, I would love to see that. I know they've been really concerned with pushing the ball downfield given their offensive line. I would really love to see today if you just said, hey, let's max protect this, hit some play action, and just really test some of these corners and try and push the ball downfield. I think they could have success doing that if they wanted to try that. Mike McCarthy hasn't shown a desire to do that much since Dak Prescott went down. Even when Dak was in there wasn't a lot of that because of the compromised offensive line. But I think if they wanted to try some of that, I think they could have some success and throw the ball downfield.
I'm not interested in allowing Cincinnati very much free access into routes. I'm going to challenge. I'm going to challenge Chase and the receivers.
Bump them at the line.
Yeah, I'm not. You let these guys run, get going in these routes, they will find a way to get past you. But I'm because what I've seen, and I mentioned this earlier in the opening, was Burrow, when he gets sacked, he'll pull the ball down. So anything to disrupt him throwing like Bobby's talking about, the slant, the hitch, the vertical stuff, try and find a way to disrupt them at the line and then live that way. Because if you just let them have free access and routes, they are going to wear you out the way that they do run routes.
Especially Chase. Chase is a guy who, if you can get your hands on him, if you can get physical with him, inside of that 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, then you can disrupt him because he doesn't like playing against a lot of physicality. Higgins is obviously a little different. Higgins is a more physical receiver. He can live in those areas. It doesn't bother the things that he wants to do nearly as much, and he's gotten really good at having to play that physical game and kind of swat away any hand fighting that's there at the line of scrimmage. But Chase, you can disrupt Chase with some hand fighting.
What's your confidence meter in CeeDee Lamb? Is he gonna look obviously injured, you think, or 11 days
10
off
days
now?
11 days might have helped.
Man, so this is something that we've talked about a lot. I know during the week on our shows on 105 to the Fan, is just the idea of I think CeeDee's he was massively compromised by the Giants game, because here's the thing, is that it's the first time we've really heard of him being hurt his entire career here in Dallas. That is not a thickly built guy. He's a little slight and has been his whole career. That's not the first time he's been hurt. He's been banged up. He's played banged up, and he doesn't complain about it. He doesn't generally show it on the field with his play or tell you about it in the locker room. So the fact that there was discussion about it tells me he was really limited. And this is essentially like a second bye week. It's not just a Thursday to Sunday, it's a Thursday to Monday game. And so, I mean, you're getting a good amount of rest. And they all seem really comfortable with, hey, he's back, he's refreshed. And, I mean, carrying no injury designation, that's obviously a big positive. But, yeah, I think we're probably going to see closer to CeeDee Lamb at full health as much as you can be by December football. I think you'll see it.
Dude, I think I'm seeing something. I think we're making history here on the plaza. Am I seeing a half Bengals, half Cowboys jersey right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that what I'm looking at here?
I think so.
We have Pac-Man Jones.
We have, yeah. Seriously, guess that player. Cheeto. I don't know. It's not Cheeto. Who is this guy? We have a young kid.
Spin around.
Turn around, my friend.
the back of your jersey.
We want to see that.
Okay.
This must be like an Optimus League jersey or something right here. That's incredible. I've never seen a Cowboys Bengals half jersey.
Yeah.
He was made for this game tonight. He's here in the building. He's ready to have a great time. That is fantastic.
If you were going to get a half Bengals, half Cowboys jersey, would it be Darnay Scott?
Darnay Scott, yeah, that would be
Tony McGee, maybe.
Maybe Bruce Coslett.
There we go.
I love being with Bruce Coslett. He was one of my favorite coaches I've ever worked with. Him and Greg Seaman, real name.
You're lying.
Not lying.
You're ball sacking.
He was a coach. Look it up. Greg Seaman was
T.O., there you go. Get the Terrell Owens one.
Yeah.
T.O., there you go.
Tovash came up with the T.O., right.
I like that. Yeah, what's that game that you play where you're having to
Immaculate Grid.
Immaculate Grid, where it's like, who's the guy who played for the Cowboys and the Bengals? And Bobby is dynamite at that particular game.
Just got to stash away the names. I was always
Darnay Scott.
Darnay Scott.
Shut up.
That's a good one. You know, if I would have gotten, if Carl Pickens wasn't just a summer signing, who didn't actually get to I would have stolen that name.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You are a sick man with the encyclopedia of useless Bengals Cowboys crossover knowledge.
What I do.
I love it. Bobby Bell with us here live from AT&T Stadium. Jake Ferguson is back. Big Biscuit. What's the role for him? It seems like no injury designations. Full go or
I don't know.
Scooney stealing some shine.
That one, look, Schoonmaker deserves. There's another guy who deserves some praise for that. That's somebody who's got nothing but negativity heaped on him for a year and a half now, and that's somebody that just personally, like, when I see the success he's having, and you can almost see like an exhale from him in the locker room these days. It's just like, that's somebody who you can tell the burden's off of him with playing better football. And that was the first guy that when we walked in the locker after the Washington game, I was like, it's really hard to tell these guys to tank when you see somebody like Luke Schoonmaker who has success, and then you see what that does to build his confidence. But for Ferguson, you know, I wouldn't have been opposed to slow playing that a little bit more. Again, this is a long shot season that we're talking about, and some of the stuff that Ferguson's talking about, you know, he said that this week in the locker room, he was waking up in the middle of the night, couldn't find his water bottle, and just started breaking down in tears. And when he had talked to the doctors about it, they're like, yeah, your brain's not healthy right now. It's working through a lot of different things, and so you're going to have that happen. And so when I hear something like that, I'm like, you know what? I don't know that a week later I want to go from that to just, hey, let's throw you back out there. But he's clear to go. I just would personally just say, hey, take some time. Just take some time, relax a little bit. But he'll be out there. He'll be ready to play. He says he's locked in and ready to go.
Eric,
and that there's no issue.
Eric was looking for his water bottle to use the men's room in it while he was there. That's why he started crying.
And funny enough, I was going to say I did start crying as well. When I couldn't find it, I just started urinating all over the bedroom floor. It was sad. It was. But Ferguson, especially with how tough the way he plays, just the physicality, like he's looking for contact and stuff. These guys are they're different animals. Your normal human rational sensibility say this guy with a brain issue that had him crying in the middle of the night 7 days ago shouldn't play. Like, that is 100% understandable.
I just personally, I would say, you know what, I'm going to say next week.
Yes, the sensibility of the professional athlete is not anything that we can even understand.
No, hell no. I mean, they're at a whole different level than what we are at.
I love this. Okay, we got some Cowboy crossovers coming in, okay? 214, Lael Collins. Ding!
Yeah,
that's a point. 214, Andy Dalton. Ding!
Yeah.
That's a point. Let's see, Terrence Newman.
Terrence Newman's a ding.
There we go, Tank Johnson.
Mike Zimmer.
Great call there.
Paul Gunther. Linebackers.
Paul
coach.
Alexander.
The ketchup bottle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gold. Okay, Mike McCarthy going for it on every fourth down tonight, Bobby. Are you in on this master plan that me and Broaddus have discussed during the break?
You know, there was a ton of, like yesterday in the noon games, especially early, there were those teams were all going for fourth down. I think before we had even got to the fourth quarter of the games across the league in the noon games, it was like 8 for 12 on fourth down. So, I mean, look, everybody's kind of leaning into that now and sees that opportunity. And so, I mean, if you want to take those chances and just say, hey, let's let's just, what was the old line from Garrett after he went forward in 2014 against the Lions? You don't lay up at Augusta. All right, do that today. Just leave it all on the table. Do whatever you got to do.
The most points the Cowboys can give up and still win tonight is what?
Probably in the range of the very most, I think, around 27-28.
Wow, even that.
No, I mean, that's a very max. Realistically, I probably wouldn't want to give up more than 21.
I think it's 24.
24 is the max.
24 is the max. Yeah,
and I think that's a pretty.
I was just willing this thing to stay at 20. Is what I'm trying to make this a muddy game.
If you can get me a special teams touchdown, if you can get me a Turpin or something like that, then I mean that would help a great deal.
I'm telling you what. If I'm the coach, once again, what am I going to say to my special teams coach? You kick him the ball, you're fired. He's one of the best weapons the Cowboys have.
Yeah.
Why would you even punt it or kick it to him? Hey, if they do that and he brings one back, we might see a firing on the sidelines.
I like that move. You just walk up with the pink
Just
slip.
Walk up and just.
I'll take your headset.
And the headset, you just unplug the headset.
Matter of fact, take off that Bengals golf shirt you got on right there as well. You're going to go Antonio Brown.
Give us the hoodie back. Here we go. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Well, I think Turpin's the guy that I just want to continue to see more and more of.
I want to see more of
an offensive snap,
yes,
for sure.
Offensively.
Honestly, the way he can win off the line of scrimmage just with his speed, we've talked about this a little bit. He's running 4 slants all year. Run him some more slants. He's so quick.
Size might limit that, though.
I know he's small, Brian, but it's so difficult because of how quick he is to even get hands on him off the line of scrimmage. So if he can just get that first step, I mean that's what he scored on. That's what he scored on in the.
How about my Jake Ferguson trail him? With Cooks, where they run a tight end vertically, and then they have Cooks run behind it and break.
Yes,
they get the third down. They ran the stacks. There you go. Get him open that way. Just kind of use a pick in front and get him the ball.
Yeah.
Let him get up the field.
Absolutely. Now I will tell you one thing that I'm already noticing very early on, gentlemen, is
a lot of Bengals jerseys.
The Bengals crowd travels better than I thought.
The Houday Nation is here.
Yeah, they are here. They're hanging out.
I'm guessing a handful woke up this weekend or whatever. They're local and they're like, I can find a way to get into this building. These aren't.
Is it Whiskey Will Chambers a Bengals fan or is he Bears?
Whiskey Will.
Bears.
He's. Well, but he's also a Cincinnati
kind of. But he's a Bears fan.
I know he's bringing his nephew to the game tonight.
Okay.
Nephew's first game at AT&T Stadium. So yeah, there is plenty of
Can
orange.
the kid drive home?
Plenty.
How old is he?
Fair question.
Like a 7-year-old. Be alert.
I'll trust the 7-year-old, even if he's never been behind the wheel. Bobby, what is your prediction for tonight's game?
I have Bengals in this one, 28-24.
Get off the set.
I believe you picked the Bengals too, Brian.
No, I did. I picked.
Did you?
Love of the Star. I picked the Cowboys.
Okay, good for you. Good.
Kind of a jerk over there, Bobby.
I'm picking Bengals. I'm picking Bengals in this one, 28-24. Look, if you can limit this,
held
or
them over
this game a little
under
bit,
24, and they won.
Then you can do it.
Yeah.
We got Bengal adversaries approaching the broadcast position, and he's giving me a thumbs up, hitting me with the Houday with a 4-win team. That's a beautiful smile you got there on your face, sir. No pity for the kitty tonight, 9.
They're calling 5 wins after tonight.
They're putting up the 5, going for victory number 5. I do like this fan
face
here
paint,
who did the full-on Bengal face paint. That's fantastic.
Hides
Bobby,
tears.
Final hard-hitting question for you. If you were at home tonight, how much Simpsons broadcast would you be consuming?
That would be the Johnny Manziel film study, the 0.0. That line, I would say 0.0.
You're not a Simpsons guy.
No, by the time, I understand everybody loves it and everything. By the time I was
for 30 years.
I know I grew up more with South Park and stuff like that, and that was always way edgier. So I always thought Simpsons was a little more muted.
All right, well, you're the man. You're muted now. Off you go. We love you very much. We'll see you in the box.
I love you all.
There he goes, Cowboys insider Bobby Belt, live from the Miller Lite West Plaza. 2 hours, 35 minutes to a Monday Night Football kickoff. Coming up next, let's go into the matchups a little bit more, and Cowboys keys to victory, 877-881-1053. That's next right here on the Fan. The roof is open here at AT&T Stadium for Monday Night Football. The Bengals in town. Welcome into the official pregame show of America's team, live from the Miller Lite West Plaza. Now under 2.5 hours to kickoff, Bryan Broaddus. And I think the coolest jersey, other than the Bengals Cowboys kid crossover jersey, that was pretty cool. We saw an Emmitt Smith Florida Gators jersey, Deuce with the blue Gator jersey.
Yeah,
that was pretty special. And shout out to Will Chambers who texted us. John Kitna, another Cowboy-Bengal crossover.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you have some names from some Cowboys-Bengals yesteryears, we would love to see them. Plenty of Bengals fans out here tonight. Hopefully the Cowboys send them home a little bit chilly, because I think after the game, some of these fans are going to walk out of this building being like,
so
oh,
too.
snap.
I think some people are dressed like they thought this was going to kind of be like a Texas Rangers, spring day game.
Nice try.
They're going to walk out of this place. They're going to wish they had jackets. I think maybe some hoodie sales will probably be in the works here coming up for some of these folks.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, a little pro shop situation going.
A little pro shop to the right and then go into the game. Make sure that's taken care of.
Well, the Cowboys are looking to make it 2 straight home wins and 3 straight victories on the season, and the Bengals have certainly struggled this year because of their defense. If the Bengals win tonight, they have a 3% chance of making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. If the Cowboys win tonight, they have a 2% chance of making the playoffs. So the season pretty much all she wrote there from a postseason standpoint for both of these teams. But on the other side of the coin, if the Cowboys lose tonight, they would stay at pick number 12 for the upcoming draft.
Okay.
If they win, I believe it would move them down to pick 14.
Okay.
So for the team tankers out there, that's what you're looking at. Not too much of a fall down the draft board with a win tonight.
So this week, you say you do get the win, and now you're 6-7. Go to a Carolina game next week that you feel like you might have early odds are that you're not the favorite against Carolina.
Panthers playing pretty well right now. That'll be a tough out.
Could they get this thing to 7-7?
It is certainly on the table. Yeah, these are tonight's game, next week's game, winnable games for sure. But a lot has to go right, especially tonight versus a team in Cincinnati that can just light up the scoreboard.
Cincinnati's offense is going to have to fall apart, I think.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what I'm kind of feeling like that Dallas is going to have to get 2 first-half stops and then find a way to get 2 more second-half stops. You can't let Cincinnati get points on, say, 4 possessions. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to – I know how you get so many possessions per half, but I feel like there's got to be a couple of times there where Dallas has got to force Cincinnati to punt, give it up on downs, turnover, something like that.
Yeah, you're going to need a sort of Commanders performance from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree.
Defense is playing lights out. Offense isn't losing you the game.
Right.
And then here comes a big special teams player, something like that.
Sure.
Because, man, like the way the Bengals are able to score, that's the biggest.
Their problems are on defense. They
got a lot of problems there.
They allow every team the Bengals play to stay in games. Even though their offense, as I mentioned, is kind of a Super Bowl type offense.
Well, what do you think? We had Dak last week kind of standing by his coach in Mike McCarthy, giving him the vote of confidence. Micah doing a similar thing. Could you feel this swinging in a different direction? If you're saying like, hey, you end up going on a nice win streak here, you win tonight, you win next week, Mike McCarthy slowly but surely regaining his job back?
Well, then you've got games against the Bucks, the Eagles, and the Commanders. Okay? And
that could be a tough way to close down.
All 3 of those teams are in the hunt for doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the feeling good of maybe a 4-game, 5-game winning streak could come crashing down, and then it could remind you about, okay, well, this team found a way to win, 7 games, and here we are, with 7-10. The draft pick is what it is. I think if that's the case, then you would probably see that Jerry Jones and them would make a change.
Right. Okay, 877-881-1053, prediction for tonight's game. And people are texting in plenty of crossover names here. Pac-Man Jones, for sure. I believe Bobby mentioned. Wolchuk just texted me. Lale Collins, I think someone texted that in as well. Roy Williams. Safety Roy Williams.
There you go.
That's another good one right there. So there's been plenty for sure. and we saw a crossover jersey today here in the plaza. We were absolutely shocked by it. Now, one of the things that I found interesting this week when reading up, I forgot that there's actually a similarity when you talk about the Bengals and the Cowboys with the way Jerry runs things as the owner and the general manager.
Yeah.
And the Bengals, isn't it the same thing with Mike Brown?
Yeah, Mike Brown. Yeah, the family
owner GM.
They had the de facto general manager is Duke Tobin.
Duke Tobin.
Yeah,
he's the Will McClay.
He's the Will McClay. But when you look at the Bengals, yeah, they're very much the Brown family. Katie Blackburn Brown, or Brown Blackburn, she's involved with the personnel stuff. I mean, she was one of the first ladies I remember when I was starting in the league. Her family owned the team. She was in scouting meetings and stuff like that. And so her and her husband, yeah, it's really a family affair with the Bengals. The Tobins, Duke Tobin, and then his dad Vince Tobin. This was at one time one of the smallest scouting staffs in the National Football League, and it was and they really relied on their coaches. For Marvin Lewis. With the Bengals, I always joked that, like, if there was a player that had some questionable character about it,
Bengals signed him.
Bengals were, because it was coaches that were really running the personnel department.
They're just wanting talent.
So Joe Mixon, Buford, what was the Vontaze Burfict,
Pac-Man Jones.
Yeah, there was always some kind of questionable. If there was a questionable background, and the player was really good, that's a Bengal. That guy right there is a Bengal. And you knew that going into the drafts and things like that.
Oh, we just got 1-0 mentality on Twitter. Just tweeted at us Gerald Sensabaugh.
Oh,
how about that for a name?
There you go.
And with the safeties tonight for the Bengals, those are guys you can take advantage of, dude.
Exactly.
I mean, it feels like it's been a decade since Jesse Bates was roaming the center field for this Bengals secondary.
Yeah.
I think that you could have some opportunities throwing the ball tonight if Cooper Rush and Mike McCarthy are willing.
Yeah.
You can push the ball down the field.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Like I say, Von Bell has been a guy, long-time Bengal.
He's a shell of himself.
Yeah,
now.
and then Geno Stone, who they got from the Ravens, is also. Keep an eye though on, can the Cowboys, if they have to throw the ball, attack Cam Taylor-Britt, the cornerback. He wears number 29, and then Mike Hilton, the nickel. Those two guys, people have gone after two of those guys in that Bengals secondary. Get the protection. Those would be guys that you want to maybe look at.
Tolos, the creators of Buffalo Casino Games, bring you Cowboys-themed casino games. Kick off with America's team on and off the reels with Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. Okay, Broaddus, how excited are you, man? We are just a few minutes away from behind enemy lines with the color analyst for the Bengals, Mr. Dave Lapham, one of our favorite members of TD Tuesday, week in, week out. No one gets more fired up for their team scoring a touchdown than Mr. Dave Lapham, and he's a legendary Bengal.
He's a legendary.
He's basically been there since day one.
He's been there since day one, and I tell you what, I'm very excited about this. I think he's in the TD Tuesday Hall of Fame. When you talk about broadcasters,
hey, I'll one up. Give me Mount Rushmore.
He is one of the best.
He is absolutely a stud. And are you committed to the bit?
Watch what's about to happen here.
All right, I'm excited for it. Broaddus has a little something special here for Dave Lapham as we are getting you set for kickoff. Cowboys and Bengals, Monday Night Football, 2 hours and 20 minutes to kick off. And we're back with Dave Lapham behind enemy lines, live from AT&T Stadium right here on the
And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Burrow ready for the shotgun snap. Moss lines up to his right. To fake to Moss. Burrow with time. Fires deep downfield for Chase. He's got it.
Yeah.
Touchdown.
Yeah, baby.
Bengals.
Yeah.
9 seconds left in the half.
And I'll tell you what. The Ravens were playing it. They're going for 2. The Ravens were playing it like, all right, they're going to try to gain a few more yards, try to keep everything in front of us. Let's play some soft zone. Jamar Chase just runs right through it. Excellent help by Zach Moss after the play-action fake. Matabuke smoked Joe right after he released the football. They call roughing the passer, and Joe sits up to see Jamar Chase finish the play. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but that's the norm. These guys have done it a ton.
All right, let's go behind enemy lines as we're now 2 hours and 13 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff live here from AT&T Stadium. We welcome in a true Bengal legend, one of the most versatile offensive linemen in NFL history, and a G-Bag Nation TD Tuesday Hall of Famer. It's the color analyst for the Cincinnati Bengals radio network, Dave Lapham, ladies and gentlemen. Dave, happy game night, man. Thank you so much for giving us some time. How the heck are you?
Hey, Eric, Brian, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Excellent, man.
Wonderful, dude. We're so fired up to chat with you. We do a highlight segment, TD Tuesday, on our program, and we run through each game with at least one touchdown, and we just absolutely love every time you are on a Bengals touchdown call. Now, we're not looking for any tonight, Dave.
Yeah,
if
Dave,
you can
no
help
touchdown
it.
tonight. Yeah,
but we love you.
I hear you. Appreciate it, guys, very much.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you, and you being one of the most versatile linemen in NFL history. What feelings do you get when you watch this Bengals offensive line, Dave?
Yeah, there have been some struggles. Unfortunately, Orlando Brown will not be going tonight, and he's been battling an issue with his fibula. In my mind, I think he cracked it, and he tried to suck it up and fight through it, and toward the end of the game last week, he couldn't really run, couldn't move. So they decided to sit him again. He'd missed 3 games. He'd never missed a game in his NFL career. So he's a guy that wants to play, but he's not going to play tonight. So now that means they're going to kick Cody Ford out there to the left tackle position. Cordell Volson, who they replaced with Cody Ford, will come back to play in that left guard position. That was the first game he'd missed since he was drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals. So that was an unusual experience for him. He handled it very well, and we'll see. I mean, I'm telling you, man, this Dallas Cowboy defensive front, now that Parsons is back, ready to roll. I mean, with Mike Zimmer, the way he gets guys matched up and gets them singled up in one-on-ones, you know, you get half a dozen guys with three sacks or more. 14 different guys have at least a half a sack. That's typical Mike Zimmer pressure packages, and the Bengals know they're going to have their hands full no matter who's operating up front for them.
Dave, you mentioned about Ford, though. He filled in pretty well. I was watching your guys' tape, and, I was kind of thinking, okay, man, how are they going to match this all up? But I felt like that Ford had done a pretty solid job for you guys when I was watching your tape.
Yeah, I think Ford was more than solid. I mean, they helped him some. They'd kind of chip with the back, or a tight end would motion across and slam a little bit from time to time. But I'm telling you, a lot of times he was matched up one-on-one with pretty good pass rushers.
Yep,
in the AFC North, there's good pass rushers, and he more than held his own a few times. And he and Orlando Brown, they go all the way back to the Oklahoma days. They were teammates at Oklahoma. They're fast friends. They were looking forward to playing next to each other, at the guard and tackle position. But Orlando's injury, flared up again on him.
Talking with a Bengal legend, Dave Lapham, here on The Fan. What about the rookie Amarius Mims? How's he coming along here in his rookie season?
Yeah, he's a genetic freak. I mean, no other way to put it. This guy he's been blessed. He's 6'8", 350 pounds, and might be a little over 6'8", might be a little over 350 pounds. But he's very agile. He moves well. He's powerful. He's tough to bull rush. I've seen some defensive ends decide, okay, well, I can't get an edge, and I'm going to try to bull him, see if I get him soft set a little bit, get an edge, and then try to move him, just run him over isn't going to work. I mean, he just hunkers down, and he's a load, and every single game, it's a learning experience for him. He didn't play very much at Georgia. He had some injury issues and didn't play a whole lot of football games. So every game that he plays in the National Football League, you know, he learns something, and he's the type of guy that is very serious about his craft, and he keeps like a mental notebook, if not a written notebook, on things that he learns on a weekly basis, and he absorbs it and doesn't forget it. He retains it. I think he's going to be a really good one for a long time.
Dave, there was a time when the Bengals that you watch your guys play over the years, and that front four on defense was always something you had to deal with. It just, the tackles, the size of tackle, the edges, the pressure, and all that. It appears that the Bengals have just kind of gone to like a lot of youth with their defensive line. How are the young guys, the Chris Jenkins, the McKinley Jacksons, how have they kind of adapted to NFL life?
Yeah, I think they're still adapting. That's been an issue. They've been moved a little bit. Their running game, I think that's going to be a big deal tonight. Which defense stops the run? Because both of these defenses have had their issues, in that regard. The Bengals have given up over 128 a game, and of course, the Cowboys given up over 147 a game. So I think the running game is going to be a big deal tonight. Who can run the football consistently? Who stops the other team from doing so? And those interior defensive tackles are going to have to step up and play large. I think with Zach Martin being down and Tyler Smith, I know he's nursing a little bit of an ankle problem. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Is Guyton going to be able to go at left tackle? I know he's questionable.
Yeah, it sounds like that he. Yeah, it sounds like that he will be fine for this one.
He'll make the dance. So I really respect the Cowboys' offensive line. I think they cover guys up pretty well. I'm not sure exactly why the issues have been an issue. I think they're coached well, and I think there's enough talent there. I think that's a concern for the Bengals. I think the defensive tackles you mentioned, they had DJ Reader and guys of that ilk were big two-gap guys. These are smaller guys, and they get pushed around a little bit in the interior, and so that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch how the center and guards handle the defensive tackles of the Cincinnati Bengals. And the other thing, talking about the balance in the pass rush with the Dallas Cowboys, is just the opposite for the Bengals. I mean, Trey Hendrickson has 11.5 sacks, leads the National Football League, 25 quarterback hits, tied for most in the league. 63 pressures, second most in the league. And then it drops off to a couple of guys with 2 sacks. I mean, it just drops off a cliff. There's nobody else that's supporting, what Trey Hendrickson is doing. And you'd think that there would be some production there because people are having to, put 4 eyes and 4 hands on Trey Hendrickson. But nobody else has really stepped up and taken advantage of one-on-one opportunities, and that's been a little bit of a disappointment as well in terms of pass rush from those front guys.
It's Dave Lapham from the Bengals Radio Network with us here on The Fan. Looking at this Bengals offense, though, and Joe Burrow, I mean, is he playing the best football of his career right now?
It's crazy. I mean, Joe Burrow is putting up, stupid numbers. It's absolutely ridiculous. In the 8 games that they've lost, 0-8, he's thrown for an average of 308 yards a game, 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, quarterback rating of 108.6, which is, averaging more yards, a better touchdown to interception ratio, and a better quarterback rating than he has for the season. And in those 8 losses, he's played at a higher level, and they've lost every single one of them. I mean, they'll score 31 points and give up 34. They'll score 33 points and give up 36. They'll score 44 points and give up 48. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Teams that they've played that are 500 or better, they're 0-7, which is tied for last in the NFL, and they scored 30.3 points a game, the most of those in that situation, and they've allowed 36.4, which is the worst in that situation. So I mean, they're doing plenty offensively. Defensively, they can't stop anything. They really can't.
Well, what's the deal with Jamar Chase? He's obviously lighting it up. Do you anticipate them getting a deal done, or is this just going to get super nasty over the next year or so?
I mean, I'll tell you what. I know that Joe Burrow obviously wants that deal to get done, and Jamar Chase is trying to go for the Triple Crown. A very, very tough thing to accomplish, but He's leading the National Football League in yards, and he's also leading the National Football League in touchdown receptions. Now, he's with C.D. Lamb with 79 catches. I think they're probably like tied for 4th or 5th now, but, they got a game in hand here to play. So Joe Burrow, I know, wants Jamar Chase to have the best year that he's had, and along with that, Joe Burrow is enjoying his best year as well. I mean, these two guys, I watch them every week, so you get a little bit of a biased opinion, but I don't see a quarterback wide receiver duo that is doing more for their team than those two are, even though they have a 4-8 record. I mean, it's incredible to watch those two, and Jamar Chase has got immense football IQ. I mean, he'll line up in the slot, he'll line up at split end, he'll line up at flanker, they'll motion him. He understands and has absorbed the entire offensive package in the passing game, and I mean, he can coach rookies just like he's a wide receiver coach. I mean, he'll yell to them, things to make sure that they're aware of, even after they break the huddle, they get to the line of scrimmage. I mean, he's giving them tips, pointers. He's a great football player, there's no question, and not only is he physically gifted, I mean, his lower body strength coaches will tell you in the weight room, I mean, he power cleans like an offensive or defensive lineman, and he's like, when he gets the football, it's like a powerful running back. I mean, people bounce off his thighs and from the waist down. I mean, he is put together. He's put together all over, really. He's a freak of nature as well.
Hey, Dave, if I could just ask you a personal question. You're a lifer with the Bengals, and maybe next to the Brown family, this organization, it means a ton to them, but it has to mean so much to you for all the years of service as a player and as a broadcaster. And talk about that, how that journey has been for you throughout your life with this football team.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be a 3rd-round pick out of Syracuse in 1974 in that draft, and that was my rookie year at the Bengals. Played 10 years with them, went to the USFL for a couple of seasons, played with the Generals and the President Trump's football team for a couple of years, then came back as a broadcaster. And so this is my 39th year in the booth and 10 as a player, so finishing up 49 combined years with the franchise. So next year is going to be, obviously significant. You get to that half a century mark. No matter what you're doing, it's an interesting dynamic for sure. And yeah, I mean, I've seen, Paul Brown was my first head coach in my first 2 years in the National Football League, and there was nobody better, and there's nobody better to have, as your first head coach in the NFL in terms of showing you the ropes and everything else. He was brilliant, and not just as a football coach, but as a human being. I mean, the life lessons the guy, taught every day were unbelievable. But yeah, so I mean, I've seen, every coach that's ever coached the football team and everything that goes along with that. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, as they say.
Well, do you expect Zach Taylor to stay around after this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to see what happens down the stretch here with these 5 football games. But they're not getting blown out of any football game.
No, they aren't.
Their worst defeat is to Philadelphia. They lost by 20 to Philadelphia. Other than that, every single game has been decided by a touchdown or less. It's crazy. They're 1-7 in games decided by 7 points or less. I mean, 1-7. Right. If you just end up 4-4, all of a sudden you got a much different season you're looking at, and they got nobody to blame but themselves. I mean, it's Kansas City has the formula, man. I mean, how about the stat that they have now?
Sure.
They've got a 500 record when been behind in the fourth quarter, come back and win the football game. They've done it. I think they're 25-25, or maybe last night gave them a 26-25 record. I know they're at least 500. Nobody else in the league has won like 38% of their games in the history of the game, in that situation. So they've got it figured out how to win those one-score games, and this year the Bengals have it figured out how to give them away.
Well, Dave, we can't thank you enough for the time, man. This has been a real treat for us. I hope you saved yourself enough time to get over to that press box and enjoy some of the fine culinary opportunities that Legends Hospitality has to offer. It's a home run. Have you had it yet?
I like that, culinary opportunities. Yeah, that's music to my ears. Eric, Bryan, can't thank you guys enough. Very enjoyable, man.
Hey, likewise.
Thank you, Dave.
We
Appreciate
love you, Dave.
man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
There
All
he
right,
goes, Dave
have a good one,
Lapham.
guys.
Yes, sir. There he goes. The Bengal legend right there.
That's a legend.
That was
a
awesome.
Pillar.
A lot of people texting in. Sounds like John Madden
He does.
reincarnated.
He does. That's very good.
He's got some of that.
Yeah.
And he's got the energy, the excitement,
He
the boom,
does.
the boom, the bang.
But you could tell also, though, he's distressed about their defense.
Oh, yeah.
You could tell he is worried about pass rush, and he's worried about who could play run defense tonight.
Well, nothing is more suffering than just losing one-score games week in,
Oh,
week out.
gosh,
I mean,
no.
that is just take the life right out of you. Hey, today's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Raise your Dr. Pepper glass to America's team. It's a Pepper thing. All right, let's go back into the booth here. We're live at AT&T Stadium, continuing the countdown to kick off Monday Night Football. Under 2 hours to kick off, and we'll welcome in Babe Laufenberg. I believe he has his Rudy movie review. He's finally seen the movie. We'll get that from him, and the full breakdown. Joe Burrow from the quarterback's eyes. It's Babe Laufenberg next right here on The Fan.
Are you ready for some football? Well, you are now, thanks to Ticketmaster. As the official ticket marketplace of the NFL, Ticketmaster's got...
Roger that, Sally. 866-90Nation or visit WindowNation.com/Cowboys for details. Window Nation, proud partner of your Dallas Cowboys.
Under 2 hours to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. We just had the Jerry Chopper, Jer Force One.
Jer Force One.
Jer Force One just touched ground here in Arlington. We're live at the Miller Lite West Plaza, and we're excited for some Cowboys football, Monday Night Football. And let's go into the booth with Babe Laufenberg, a Cowboy legend. Babe.
Hey, Babe, last night at Jarrett's charity event, I bid on the quarterback session with you. I wanted to learn how to throw the ball instead of like playing catch upside down like the deep snapper I was. I wanted to learn how to throw it the proper way. And so I bid, and I got outbid by somebody. I didn't circle back fast enough.
With pockets as deep as yours, Broaddus, and you got outbid.
I was kind of hovering in the area, and I saw, chance to learn from the Bambino himself.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
hey, very quickly, I was in Washington, and I was a backup long snapper for like 2 games. That was because if you can throw the ball overhand,
you throw it overhand,
right?
you throw it upside down.
You just turn your head over and you snap between your legs. And I prayed to God. I always, you always want to get in the game. You always want to play, but I prayed to God that I didn't have to go in there and long snap because that was in the day when you could run right over the center.
They crushed you.
The Bambino at all at 210, 215 pounds was going to get drilled. So that was one where I was just like, no, he's fine. He's good. He can snap. It's like, no, they carried him off on a stretcher. Yeah. Bring him back because I don't want to go out there.
Especially with the quality of helmets that you and I were playing with back in the day.
Yeah. Suspension helmet. That's
exactly.
Great.
That thing was rattling around. You might as well just have one of those old Hutch helmets, back when you were a kid at Christmas time. Yeah. They gave you the Hutch outfit. It's like, oh, look. The shoulder pads, you go out there, the first tackle, you'd be laying out in the front yard, and your mom and dad would have to come get you.
That helmet provided no padding.
No padding.
I will tell you this. I don't even know the company Hutch, but they had a monopoly on it, didn't it? Because all you have to do is say the Hutch, and you knew exactly what you're talking
Hutch,
about.
They had all the teams, and it wasn't even the real. Great. It wasn't even the real gear. It was like some makeshift looking jersey. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't the Dolphins. Who is this?
No, they were not giving out Bob Greasy game-worn jerseys in the Hutch package.
Yeah, you got Jim Kick. Is what you did. Who's Jim Kick,
I was a full-on Hutch from head to toe Troy Aikman for Halloween whenever I was about 5 years old. So how about that?
There you go.
And Troy will join us later on in tonight's pregame show on the call with Joe Buck for Monday Night Football. It's a big one tonight with Burrow and company in town here, Babe. And I imagine you watch Joe Burrow and you just love every second of it. This dude's pretty incredible.
I really did. And just obviously, you watch him on TV, you watch games, you watch whatever, but I'm going back and looking at the tape, and to me, the most impressive thing, and there's a lot to be impressed about by Joe Burrow, his footwork in the pocket. I mean, he's like a ballerina. He is fantastic, and I don't get hung up on footwork. Mike McCarthy seems to, but all this footwork talk, but just his ability to move, slide here, slide there, step up, all these little movements within the pocket, and then get the ball off. And, that's impressive. We know he can throw the ball. I mean, I'm loving Joe Burrow. That's all I can tell you. And talking about, he's a great athlete. Unless guys run 4.3, they think, he was an all-state basketball player in Ohio in high school. And, this wasn't South Dakota. Ohio's a big state. They play good basketball there. And here the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals was an all-state basketball player. And you can just see in his footwork. He's I'm really looking. I'm watching him right now. I'm up in our booth and I'm watching him warm up, and I'm admiring that.
I believe it, dude. Yeah, he's playing MVP caliber football. Unfortunately, his defense won't allow him to really get in those conversations seriously. But when you look at this Bengals offense, obviously it starts with Joe Burrow, but the weapons are through the roof, babe.
Yeah, obviously Jamar Chase. We know how good he is. And I really like the running back, Chase Brown, who took over Zach Moss. They signed as a free agent from Indianapolis. He was the starter. But Chase Brown had kind of taken over that role. But Zach Moss is out now with a neck injury. Has been for a number of weeks. But, they can run the ball. They obviously have 2 extremely talented receivers. You kind of forget about T. Higgins a little bit. And Joe Burrow is just as good as it gets. Here's a weird thing, though, right? For me, the Bengals have lost 3 straight, 4 of their last 5, and Joe Burrow was the player of the month for November. So that tells you how much he's been shouldering the load for this football team.
Well, do you think, Babe, that the Cowboys can keep pace with them offensively tonight? Because the Bengals put up points, man.
Yeah, they certainly do. I'll say this. I always say you play the game that's presented to you that day. So you can't go in thinking if we don't score 35, we're going to lose. Because the game starts, they kick it off, and all of a sudden it changes. And shoot, if you watched Georgia, Texas, which I know a lot of our listeners did on the weekend here, that's a 6-3 game at the half. They go to overtime, tied at 16. This is college football. So I don't think if you had said we're going to hold, if you had asked Kirby Smart or Sarkisian, hey, you're going to hold them to 16, the other team. You're going to hold the other team to 16. You go, oh, gee, we win in a rout. And no, they go to overtime. So you just got to be careful, I think, as a head coach, play caller, what have you, that you don't feel like you have to pull all the stops out to keep pace with the other team. And very quickly, the Cowboys defense, as you guys know, they've been playing better. Now, they have their hands full with this team, but they have been playing better since Micah returned. Imagine that.
Hey, Babe, okay, speaking of defense and Cincinnati defense, is it an advantage for the Cowboys that Trey Hendrickson generally just stays on one side of the field?
Yeah, and watching the tape, again, I've watched these guys play, but you start studying it, and he is on one side, and I keep waiting for, the next play for them to move him over.
Four snaps this year on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, he just stays at that right defensive end spot, so, I mean, you can do things then. You keep that tight end. If you know where he's going to be, you hit that tight end, you have your back chip, all those things that we've seen, but, outside of him, they cannot rush the passer. Now, he is exceptional. I mean, he finished second last year in sacks to T.J. Watt. The interesting thing about him, guys, if I were to let the average fan, and I mean somebody that really follows it, I said, give me the 10 best pass rushers, Trey Hendrickson would not be on their lips. He wouldn't even be mentioned, right?
Yeah, right.
But he is. So you do have to control him, and to your point, Brian, keeping him on the one side like Cincinnati does, I think it just makes it a little easier to set your protections to him.
It's Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Well, what would be your plan coming into this one tonight, Babe, if you're McCarthy? How do you want to approach things? The Bengals definitely have holes on their defense. Is this the one game where maybe Babe Laufenberg is here for some winning the time of possession battle?
Yeah,
your favorite stat.
It's my least favorite stat because I say, hey, if you have an 8-minute drive and kick a field goal and the other team has a 1:30 drive and they score a touchdown, it's great. We're winning the time of possession, but you only look at the scoreboard. But the Cowboys, again, have been running the ball better. Last 3-4 games, I believe. Rico Dowdle's been averaging 4-7. And they're going to need to run the ball against this team. And I think they can. The one thing watching the tape, I didn't think Cincinnati, I mean, they're bad all over defensively, but they're not a very good tackling team. That being said, the Cowboys don't have a whole lot of guys that make people miss, right? But that's kind of stood out to me a little bit with Cincinnati. The other thing, they're two corners. The one is a rookie, 5th rounder out of TCU, and the other, Cam Taylor-Britt, it's a guy they benched twice this season. So that tells you a little bit about where they are trying to defend the pass. But, yeah, the time of possession I don't necessarily care for, as you know, but I do think the Cowboys are going to have to run the ball a little bit, and you do try to keep Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, you try to keep them off the field as much as you can. But eventually, when you give them the ball, you only get one possession, they get the next one. It's not like when you go to the gym, right, and you play 2-on-2 or 1-on-1, and winners keep, when you make the bucket, you get to keep the ball.
Make it take it, baby. It's my style.
Yeah, so the other team will get the ball eventually. Now you got to stop them. Here's one for you that I just found this week. Maybe you guys have, but it was shocking to me. The Cowboys have won 24 straight games, okay, when they've held the opposition to 20 points or fewer. And I know you'd say, well, yeah, you hold them under 20, you're going to win. 24 straight games, 20 or fewer, they've won. It's the longest streak in the NFL. It's the longest active streak in the NFL. Now, I don't see them holding Cincinnati under 20.
Right.
But you never know. Again, I'll get back to my opening statement. You play the game that's presented to you that day. So maybe this becomes a defensive game.
Babe, okay, you talk about Cincinnati's offense and potentially them scoring points. Does Mike McCarthy have to think about this game, calling it differently when it comes to analytics and going for it? Like, can you afford to give the ball back to them?
That's a good
that
point.
way.
Yep, that's a good point. And honestly, the only way you can be more aggressive, I think, than Mike McCarthy, in those situations is if your name is Dan Campbell. Because we've seen McCarthy go for it, on their own 30 on 4th and 1. And so, boy, there's a fine line between aggressive and reckless, and at times I think some of these coaches are getting reckless. When you're at your own 20-yard line, hey, Baltimore did it. John Harbaugh a week ago, right? And you're sitting there going, you're really not doing this. They converted, so everything works out okay for you. But, hey, Dan Campbell had a non-conversion in the last game, right? They were at their own 30, didn't make it. They come down. The other team just comes right down, 30-yard touchdown drive. So those things can catch up on you. Again, fine line between aggressive and reckless.
Amen to that. Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Babe, we got some the news on Zach Martin this week was certainly a tough pill to swallow. I was just curious how that sort of landed with you, because he's, of course, a Cowboy legend, future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I felt so sorry for Zach. And honestly, and I bet a lot of people felt this way that really follow it, I felt sorry for him if this is indeed, we've seen the last of him in a Cowboys uniform, that they never won here. He never won big. He never got a chance to get to an NFC championship game. And you have that kind of career that he had, you'd like to think you're rewarded with team success at some point. Obviously, he's had a lot of individual success, Pro Bowls, All-Pro nominations. To your point, probably going into the Hall of Fame. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. The other part, I think it's interesting, Tyron Smith, he's on IR at the end of this year. I can't imagine he'll be back next year. So those two guys may be up for the Hall of Fame, may be eligible. You have to wait 5 years, of course. They may be eligible in 5 years from now. And are they going to put two Cowboys offensive linemen into the same Hall of Fame class? I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. But they're both
that's a great point.
Hall of Famers in my estimation.
Right,
Just a question of which one will get in first.
Exactly, yeah. Who's that first ballot? We've seen them kind of spurn some Cowboys in the past. Heck, most recently, DeMarcus Ware should have been a first ballot guy. He, of course, gets in on ballot number 2. But yeah, that's a great point, babe. All right, well, we got to let you go on this one. A few weeks back, you informed us, very, very surprising, that you had never seen the movie Rudy.
Yes.
So from one Golden Domer and Zach Martin to another, please, the Babe Laufenberg Rudy review for all to hear.
I'll give you a quick one. I did watch it on the plane ride home, downloaded it to my iPad, watched it on the plane ride home from the, I believe, Washington game. I don't want to say I'm jaded, but you kind of know how that story's going to end. It was a little syrupy for me. The only real issue I had, though, was, if you recall, and people probably haven't seen it in a long time, but the guy that played Eric Parsegian, who was the head coach at Notre Dame at that time, I swear he looked like Johnny Cash. I felt like I was watching Johnny Cash. I don't know that actor's name, but if you just go back and find a video or a snapshot of whoever played Eric Parsegian in that movie, it's Johnny Cash, and I could not get over that. You know how sometimes you just can't unlearn what you know? That was one of the times. I'm like, that's Johnny Cash. What's Johnny Cash doing in a Rudy movie? But it was good. I enjoyed it.
Solid.
I enjoyed it.
You're a football guy, like you said, a little syrupy. Maybe just a one watch. Maybe no need for a rewatch there. But I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you saw it.
I am too. And I'll be at Notre Dame. Indiana goes to Notre Dame on the 20th. I'll be at that game. So I'll be looking up Rudy.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I don't want to sound morbid. Is Rudy still alive? That character?
Yeah, I think Rudy Rudiger is his name.
He is, okay.
I think he's still with us. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
good.
he's still with us.
Good.
Yeah.
He's going to get the Babe Laufenberg dap up at the game here in a couple of weeks. I love it. Babe, you're the man. We appreciate you as always, my friend. Enjoy the game. We'll be listening.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Babe Laufenberg right here on 105.3 The Fan, where the wind is certainly starting to pick up here in a big way in the Miller Lite West Plaza. The doors have opened to AT&T Stadium. Cowboys Nation infiltrating. There's plenty of Bengals fans out here tonight as well. But coming up next, as we continue to get you set for kickoff, just over 90 minutes, let's go ahead and go onto the turf of AT&T Stadium and get the scoop from the best in the business. Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter. She joins us next right here on The Fan.
Are you ready to elevate your barbecue game? Matt Pittman of Meat Church here.
Network. Brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
We're live here at AT&T Stadium, the Miller Lite West Plaza, and we are about to get the scoop from Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter, as we continue counting down to kickoff here just over 90 minutes before things get rolling here between the Cowboys and the Bengals. And let's see who's in, who's out, and all the need-to-know info before kickoff as we welcome in Christy Scales inside of AT&T Stadium there on the turf. Christy, happy game night. How you doing?
Happy game night. Doing a lot better, Eric, as our all the fans in Cowboys Nation knowing that Trayvon Diggs will play tonight, because it really was a game night decision. He didn't come out. He didn't do the early warm-ups kind of thing, with the athletic trainers watching and that kind of stuff. In fact, he didn't come out and do work, the early work with the Cowboys defensive backs until about, almost 20 minutes ago. I'd say I looked at my watch, it was about 5:23, but he was able to go through that work, and it's good news that he's available, because it has just been a revolving door, this MASH unit of Cowboys cornerbacks, and the moves today. I was joking with Todd Williams and Will McClay for football operations and player personnel of the moves made today for the roster. Zach Martin going on injured reserve, but the 4 other moves involved cornerbacks. So that's where we are in terms of next man up when it comes to cornerbacks. 7 different starters at cornerback throughout the course of the season. The only 2 cornerbacks on the Cowboy roster that haven't started are Israel Mukuamu and C.J. Goodwin. Everybody else has had a shot. But tonight will be the first time that Trayvon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, and Deron Bland will be on the field together, like ever in a regular season game. So that's good news going against Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and that passing attack of the Bengals.
Yes, we need all hands on deck in the secondary tonight for sure. What about the others? So Diggs is in. That's great news. Who's inactive?
So Wanye Thomas, the safety, he hurt his knee in the Thanksgiving Day game. Damone Clark, a linebacker, he's inactive just because they're having to go long at defensive back. Tyrus Wheat, the defensive end, is inactive, and running back Deuce Vaughn is inactive. And then Andrew Booth, who they elevated from the practice squad just in case Trayvon Diggs wasn't able to go. Because Diggs is able to go, Booth is inactive. So that's twice this year where Booth has been elevated from the practice squad and yet been inactive for the game. So kind of weird, but that's where we are with this next man up and this crazy rotation that's having to take place at cornerback because of all the injuries.
Christy, I'm probably going to put you on the spot, but do you have a record of what they are in color rush uniforms?
Actually, I do have that. Thank you for asking, Brian, because when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't go back to sleep, and you're like, you know what, I'll just look it up. I'll never use it. But by gosh, we get to use it. So this is the 13th time that the Cowboys have worn a color rush uniform, and they are 8-4 so far. So that's good news. Yeah, I like that. But, the color rush started back in 2015 for the Cowboys. That was the Thanksgiving Day game against Carolina. They lost that game. That was the one where Romo broke his collarbone that Thanksgiving game, but since then it's been pretty good luck since then.
I love it. Okay, so we got the color rushes tonight, and we have the roof open as well. So what does it feel like in there?
Actually, it's starting to get, I won't say chilly. It's very comfortable and nice right now, but the roof is open, but the doors are closed. And I'm glad, because you could feel a little bit of a breeze. Of course, you guys are out on the West Plaza, so I'm sure you're going to tell me that it's really kind of picked up a little bit out there, breeze-wise, because we can feel the movement in here just in the last 20 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it was a high of 60 today in Arlington, and it's about 56 degrees right now, but by the time we get into the fourth quarter, the low's going to be about 53, so it should be pretty comfortable. But for any of the fans, I know so many people that come to the game are listening to us as you're making your way into the parking lot. Ladies, yeah, I know we're always cold, so if you've got a little light jacket, go ahead and bring it in, because the roof is open, and so it's not going to be 70 degrees. It's going to feel more like in the 50s.
Christy, your public service announcement is good. I have a feeling that a lot of ladies did not listen to you walking into this game, so apologize for that.
They're wearing the short skirts, and
they are ready. They're ready to go clubbing after this thing. But
no, they're ready to see Joe Burrow is what it is. Because I have to tell you guys what I remember from 2 years ago, because the Cowboys have only played Joe Burrow once, a regular season game 2 years ago, and it was early in the season. It was September, and it was just a sea of purple on the sideline because it was all these LSU fans. There was a lot more orange that game, you know, with Bengals fans, but I'm talking about like at field level, and it was that star power of Joe Burrow, and it really stood out to me because we get kind of, I hate for it to sound this way, but we get kind of jaded, don't we, covering the Cowboys with the star power, and you go to all the away venues and so many Cowboy fans there, and people are so excited to see the Cowboys stars, and I just remember thinking, oh, this is what it's like from the other side of the fence, right? But yeah, the other thing about that game 2 years ago was Joe Burrow lost here at AT&T Stadium, and people forget that Cooper Rush was the starting quarterback in that game for the Cowboys because Dak had gotten hurt in the week earlier. So Cooper Rush versus Joe Burrow head-to-head. Cooper has the 1-0 lead in the series.
Yeah, I wonder how many quarterbacks in the league have a winning record against Joe Burrow. You know what I'm saying? But Christy, this is one of the nights that I really, or the games I love, with the my cause, my cleats, and then the boots for the cheerleaders, right? Is that what we got tonight?
Exactly. So with the players, I mean, just the different foundations or charities or causes. For example, Eric Kendricks, who's on with you guys every week on The Fan, and he talks to Cowboys fans listening on 105.3 The Fan, and we all know how big he is into cars, and so his cause tonight is Accelerate Automotive Education Program. Brock Hoffman, the Derek James Family Foundation, Maris Leofau, a rookie, getting to use his platform as a Cowboy for the Children's Cancer Fund. Zach Martin, he's going to be on the sideline even though he's on IR and not playing, but this is the fourth year now that he and other offensive linemen are recognizing the National Medal of Honor Museum Foundation. So Luke Schoonmaker is with the Archdiocese for Military Services USA and St. Joseph's Helpers of Dallas. So I mentioned some of those just to let people know how varied these causes are. And we mentioned the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. The boots that they wear, those Lucchese white boots, there's a white star on the side of their boot. But for tonight, My Cause, My Boots, it'll be different colors for their causes. So, for example, breast cancer would be pink. Let's see, some of the other girls, like Amanda, hers is going to be a light blue. Hers is for human trafficking. And Madeline, domestic violence, hers is purple. Suicide awareness for Taylor, teal and purple. So it's really a splash of color, not just out on the field during warm-ups with the players. Some of them will wear their shoes during the game. Most of them wear it only in pregame. But for the cheerleaders, they'll be wearing their specially made boots. And they don't just change out the star, it's the whole boot that is done by Lucchese for this special night.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing all that stuff here. Monday Night Football at AT&T Stadium. And you mentioned, Christy, Zach Martin, the unfortunate news about him this week going on IR, going to be out for the season. Perhaps we've seen the last of him in a Cowboys uniform, surefire Hall of Famer. But I would just love to know how that sort of landed with you this week, seeing Zach Martin go out for the season.
Yeah, well, Mike McCarthy, when he said it first in the press conference on Thursday, and I just remember blinking real hard a few times, where you get bad news and you don't want to shed a tear, so you're trying to be tough. I mean, I knew that the ankle was bad, and him missing 2 games, it's just got to be so painful because that guy's like the Black Knight from Monty Python, right? 'Tis but a flesh wound. Nothing can hurt that guy.
Yep.
But I've been really close with Zach Martin his entire career, and just one of my all-time favorite Cowboys in 34 years of doing this. And so, yeah, I agree with what Babe said earlier. You know, you just wish that more wins and more playoff success, and just it's sad. Very few NFL players get to go out on their own terms, right? And if anybody deserves it, it's Zach Martin. But, you know, let's not put any dirt on him yet. It's going to be up to him, and any decision he makes regarding retirement would come in the offseason. But, yeah, he will always be a favorite Cowboy to me all time.
No question about it. Well, Christy, you're the best. We appreciate you as always, and we look forward to catching up with you next hour.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. There she goes. Christy Scales, Cowboys Sideline reporter, right here on the Fan as we continue to get you set for kickoff. Good news, Cowboys fans, if you're making your way out to the game tonight, Legends Hospitality at it once again. Their superpowers know no bounds, and they just dropped off tonight's exclusive item, Vegan Tostitos Ultimate Nachos. Broaddus, you perked up as soon as you heard vegan.
Yeah.
I saw the excitement on your face. A plant-based version of the Dallas Cowboys game day #1 selling fan favorite. Love the nachos, but these are a level up here. Thick cut Tostitos tortilla chips. You got the vegan hot nacho cheese sauce and the hearty plant-based Texas chili topped with fresh pico de gallo and jalapenos.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. Not a vegan guy, but I tried the nachos. Really good. So I
saw
recommend.
you punishing those things.
I did. I admit
Despite
I
all
was
your
hungry.
preconceived notions.
I was hungry, but I'll tell you what, vegan nachos, I was thinking the worst, got the best.
Yeah, no, home run as always with Legends, doing it big. If you're making your way to AT&T Stadium tonight, I mean the opportunities from a menu standpoint are very, very vast. But this is the one time during the season where you can go plant-based with your nachos. And I know a lot of sports fans complain a lot because I can't get my plant-based nacho. Well, here at AT&T Stadium, good news, folks, it's here.
They'll take care of it. If you're a vegan and you want some nachos, they got you covered tonight.
And Broaddus not even being a vegan, just housing those. He was like, can I get
took
seconds?
part of yours. I
know.
was trying to grab some of yours over there.
I like the way you handled that. All right, we'll see if the Cowboys can handle these Bengals tonight. And I got a quick number for you. You have Mike Zimmer dialing up the blitz at one of the highest rates in football on third down, okay? And we know about this pass rush, especially since Micah and Overshown coming back. Here's the thing that is a bugaboo for me. It's that Joe Burrow is always used to being under pressure, navigating and finding a way to create chunk plays. I think that's going to be a big thing tonight for the Cowboys defense. I'm calling it a truth serum game for the Cowboys defense.
This is like the third week you've called it a truth serum
game.
They have
failed every time. Let's see
if we can get a win.
Is it real?
Yeah.
What you did versus the Giants, the Commanders, is it real? We'll find out as we're just over 60 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Still to come, we will hear from head coach Mike McCarthy. We'll go into the owner's box with the Jones boys, and a special guest, Troy Aikman, joins us next right here on The Fan.
It's football season. Grab your Dallas Cowboys gear at JCPenney. If you love America's team, we've got all the star power you need. From jerseys to tees, hoodies to accessories, they're game day ready and everyday approved. Huddle up in store and game plan for the whole family. Or check out our sports fan shop to score even more online. More styles, sizes, and decor for every fan in the house. JCPenney, a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Products vary by store.
Get ready for some football. Embassy Suites by Hilton Dallas Frisco is only a mile from your team's headquarters. Book now to touch down in a two-room suite. Kick off with free made-to-order breakfast and intercept complimentary drinks and snacks at evening receptions. From September the 7th through December
Touchdown! Touchdown, Cowboys!
With Brad Schaub, Abe Loffenberg, Christy Scales, Eric Chiofalo, and Bryan Broaddus. Brought to you by
Deutsch Family Wine and Spirits, official wine of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T, the official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today.
Also brought to you by
Bill Nunnally, behind every great company. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's Feed Your Wild Side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Tyson Foods. Get your Tyson Cowboys Star Nuggets. Available now. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Yes, welcome into the official pregame show of America's team. We are blessed to be at AT&T Stadium right now, Miller Lite West Plaza, as we continue to get set for kickoff here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. He's Bryan Broaddus, a Super Bowl winning scout. I am Eric Chiofalo, and we are getting set to be joined by the three-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, on the call for ESPN and Monday Night Football tonight, Troy Aikman, here momentarily. But we got the Bengals in town, Broaddus. Cowboys looking for 2 straight home victories, 3 straight victories in a row for the first time this season. But the Bengals offensively, their offense doesn't look like their record. Their defense looks like one of the worst we've ever seen.
They've had some troubles this year on defense, and you know, when you break them down, you look at the problems. It's been pass rush, not so much Trey Hendrickson, but pressure from others, and they've had struggles with defending the run. And then all of a sudden now you're throwing the secondary issues. You know, if Dallas can find a way, I think it's going to be about running the football tonight. I really do believe. I'm looking for this threshold of 30 carries. Somehow, some way, get that thing to 30 and see if you can kind of play that way and maybe get a victory out of this. Limit the number of maybe opportunities that the Bengals have in this game. You might catch a break that way because their offense is outstanding. I mean, they can put up some points. They can put up some points in a hurry. The quarterback, the receivers, outstanding. A little limited along the offensive line. Going with some younger guys. They've had some injury issues there.
All right, let's throw things up into the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Schaub, to welcome in our next guest.
I hate it. Thanks, Eric. I hate it when you say throw up, but we don't need to be doing that. But we are delighted to welcome in the, as Christy said, the 3-time Cowboys Super Bowl champion and Ring of Honor quarterback and noted beer salesman Troy Aikman. Thank you for coming down from your perch.
Well, hey, you're welcome. Thank you for promoting 8 Beer. I like that.
Yeah,
I'll come on more often.
I don't recall saying the name, but I thought that you might take the opportunity. I think they're cousins of our sponsors. So you had a home game like this 3 weeks ago. It feels like more than 3 weeks. The Houston game. So as you have prepared for this, what is the difference you see between Dallas tonight and 3 weeks ago?
Oh, they obviously come into this game feeling better about themselves. The game that they won there in Washington was a good turning point for them and kind of got them at least headed in the right direction against a team that was playing good football. And so it is interesting, though, Brad. You see them each and every week. That I think, once Micah Parsons came back, this has just kind of been a different team in a lot of ways. It certainly has been defensively. They've gotten some turnovers. They've been able to get after the quarterback. And then I think Cooper Rush has done a good job as well. So, we come into this game with 2 teams that really had expectations of competing for a Super Bowl, and obviously now they're just hanging on by a thread, hoping to get into the postseason, which is still very unlikely. But yet, with that said, I do think that these are 2 teams that have not quit, and they very much want to win this game and keep their playoff hopes alive. And so I think we're going to have an entertaining ball game.
Since you are able to come at it from, by necessity, an objective perspective tonight, what's worse, the Cowboys offense or the Bengals defense?
Well, I just got done talking to Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, prior to going on with you, and I think it's fair to say, and I don't think he would object, I think Cincinnati's defense is worse than what we've seen from the Cowboys offense, and it's really a big disappointment for him. Like the Cowboys, they've had a number of injuries in the secondary. They've had some other issues. They're not able to get a pass rush, and who ends up kind of winning on that side of things, whether it's Cincinnati defensively or Dallas offensively, it will be interesting to see. But I would expect that Cooper Rush will have some success, and I think they'll have some success on the ground with Rico Dowdle again tonight as well.
Have you seen many quarterbacks play better than Joe Burrow is in losing 8 games?
I've not seen many quarterbacks play better than him when they've gone undefeated. I mean, this guy, he without question is my favorite quarterback in the NFL, maybe my favorite player of all time for that matter.
Hold on, of all time?
Quite possibly, Brad.
You were a big Marino fan. Are we putting him in Marino category?
Well, this guy, I love everything about him, especially in today's NFL where you just don't see these types of players that. He's an old school quarterback. He could have played in the 90s. He could have been on one of those teams like Elway or Marino or Jim Kelly or any number of those type of guys. He has to anticipate. He's moving much better this year than I've seen at any other time in his career. Some of that's out of necessity, but the other part of it is he's healthy. But he's taken a lot of hits. The offensive line hasn't protected him particularly well. He has no running game. He's had no running game since he became the starter in Cincinnati 5 years ago. And yet he's putting up historical numbers, and he's just a pleasure to watch. And I do know this, Brad. I don't know if he's the best quarterback in the game today. Obviously, you've got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, but he throws with anticipation better than anybody currently playing the game. And for that, I have a great admiration for him.
Laufenberg's going to be, brokenhearted to know that you think that he's a notch above him.
A notch above Babe Laufenberg?
Yeah.
Well, that's a high bar, I know. But,
Babe's going to be disappointed.
Get him a glass of milk or something when you break the news to him.
Yeah, I will. So the pair of receivers that he has is part of it. And I was thinking today, especially after watching the Rams yesterday, those two guys are on fire. There's how many teams have 2 receivers functioning better than these 2 guys?
Oh, those 2 in Minnesota are pretty good too. But yeah, you're right. I think that I tried to guard against, because I went through this as a player that it seems like on Monday night the announcers will always say this guy does this better than anybody in the game, and then the next week that next player does it better than anybody in the game. And so I try not to do that. But these 2 guys are really, really good. And of course, they've got a history with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase going back to college. T. Higgins came in with the same draft class as him. And they're just a different team with T. Higgins on the field, because it helps take some of the pressure, at least a little bit, off of Jamar Chase, and then the big plays that he's able to make. But that's an awfully good group. We've got the Minnesota Vikings next week on Monday night, so I'm looking forward to seeing Justin Jefferson and then Jordan Addison as well.
From your perspective, the best you can hope for every week is a good game.
Yeah.
When we are in week 14 and you've got 2 teams, it could be really interesting, as you said a minute ago, but you also could be looking at 2 teams who are headed for the golf clubs. Is that harder for you to prepare for, or easier?
It's a little harder and different, quite honestly, at ESPN and doing Monday night, because when I was at Fox, because of our slate of games, we were always going to get competitive, compelling games, so teams that were in it. We never had teams with losing records at this stage of the season. But with that said, we've had other games, of course, this year and other years since I came over to Monday night that teams aren't in the playoff picture, but yet the games themselves have been pretty good. So this year, quite honestly, we've had a lot of games that just have not been great matchups. We thought, for instance, Dallas-Houston would have been a great matchup, and it wasn't because of where those teams were tonight, certainly, but yet at the end of the night, we've had really good games, and I anticipate that that'll be the case again tonight as well.
You have not been shy about this, but for the benefit of this audience, a Cowboys-centric audience, why do you think Mike McCarthy should be the coach again next year?
Well, I mean, short of Bill Belichick, I don't know who you're going to bring in that's got a better resume. So there are no guarantees as far as what might happen if you make a coaching change. And I just feel that for a team that I really do not think is that far away, I just don't believe that if you win 12 games in 3 years straight, that you come into this year and, yeah, the wheels have fallen off, but there's a lot of reasons for that. They didn't address some needs in the offseason. The youth that they anticipated didn't come along and develop the way that they had hoped, and then the injuries that they have had. And I like the way this team's playing right now, even without their franchise quarterback. So I sense that it's a team that really believes in Mike McCarthy. I feel the locker room wants him back. I think he's a really good football coach. I believe Jerry Jones thinks he's a really good football coach too, and I think it's the last thing that Jerry Jones wants to do. So for those reasons, now if this game gets ugly and it's in the Bengals' favor, anything might happen. I don't anticipate that happening tonight, but as we stand and talk right now, Brad, I expect Mike McCarthy to be back in 2025.
I don't know how well you've gotten to know Zach Martin over the last 11 years. I know he would have fit in beautifully on the teams that you played on, and he hasn't said he's done, but we can all do the math. What's your impressions of Zach through the years?
Yeah, what you just said. Over the years since I retired, the greatest compliment, and I haven't paid it to too many people, but the greatest compliment I can pay anyone is to tell them that I would have loved to have had them as a teammate. And Zach Martin, I would have loved to have had as a teammate. We would have found a spot for him. I don't know who we would have taken out of the lineup, but the guys that I played behind were awfully good and wouldn't replace any of them. But Zach Martin is of that ilk, and he could have played in any generation. He certainly is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and couldn't be prouder of the career that he had.
Eric, Bryan, before we let Troy go, either of you have anything for him?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I would just love to know, Troy, how you think the Cowboys can keep pace with this Bengals offense tonight.
Well, if it becomes a shooting match, I don't know that they can, quite honestly. As much as Cincinnati has struggled defensively and they've given up a lot of big plays, I just do not think Dallas has the horsepower to play that kind of game if this gets into the 30s with Joe Burrow. But with that said, I expect the Cowboys to have some opportunities based on how Cincinnati might play them, and how they take advantage of that is going to tell the story really early in this one. But I think really the defense, and I think there's a good chance they can. I don't quite honestly know how Cincinnati is going to slow down this Cowboys pass rush. I think that's probably the biggest question coming into this game.
Bryan, you got anything?
Yeah, I do. Troy, I was just wondering, when you watch Burrow and Chase, do you ever see any similarities between you and Michael and the connections that you guys had playing this game?
Well, I think when I look at the top quarterbacks and the top receivers and those duos, I do see a lot, because in order to have those type of connections, you got to be on the same page. You've got to give your number one wide receiver opportunities. He certainly does with Jamar Chase. If we're making the comparisons with Joe Burrow and someone who might be like Michael Irvin, I would probably go with T. Higgins. He's a more physical receiver at the catch point. That was Michael's strength. Wasn't his speed, wasn't his quickness. It was sheer determination. And I've never been around anybody who was more physical at the point of the catch. And when the ball was in the air, it was his. And so that's what I see when I see T. Higgins playing.
Last two real quick. Do you have a Simpsons avatar tonight?
I don't think so, no. I'm hoping Joe does, because that might be pretty funny.
And do you get a police escort home?
I don't get that either, no. So, but I am, it's like not working, though, to be able to drive to the stadium and then drive when this game's over back to my house and get to bed at a decent hour. This is like stealing.
Go back up there. Well,
yeah, no,
let's not get started, shall we? Hey, I love you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I love you too. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you,
Brad.
Okay, fellas, back to you.
Heck yeah, thank you, Brad Sham. Thank you, Troy Aikman, right here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys on the Dallas Cowboys radio network. That was pretty dang special.
Yeah.
How about him salivating over Joe Burrow? That's maybe his favorite player of all time. What is he seeing that's making him feel that way?
I'll tell you what, it has to be the intent. What's the one thing Troy Aikman does so well as a quarterback? The anticipation. That's why I was kind of curious. He was talking about him and T. Higgins and Burrow, like with Michael, the physicality, but the anticipation. That's what Troy Aikman, kind of a thinking man's quarterback. Stand back there, middle of the pocket, boom, let that ball fly. That's the same thing. Hold the ball more than 2.5 seconds, wait for the route to develop. That's the kind of thing Troy Aikman used to do. I see why you liked a guy like that so much.
Absolutely. All right, we're here in the Miller Lite West Plaza of AT&T Stadium. It is dark. The wind is blowing. It is a bit chilly. But we're fired up for some football, baby. Cowboys looking to make it 2 straight home victories, 3 straight victories for the first time this season. And, hey, let's hear more from Brad Sham. He will be standing by inside of AT&T Stadium with your Cowboys head coach, Mike McCarthy. That's coming up next here as we're just under 1 hour to kickoff. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Apply now to the University of North Texas. Dallas Cowboys.
Less at Academy Sports and Outdoors and at academy.com.
Hey, we'll go into the owner's box with the Jones boys coming up here in just a bit, but right now it's time to throw it to Brad Shams, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy for tonight's Coach's Corner. Brad, take it away, sir.
Guys, thank you. And Monday night game number 2 in a 3-week period of time for Coach Mike McCarthy. I want to ask you a philosophical question first. Thought I'd better tell you that to give you some notice. Kind of philosophical. So here's 2 teams, both of whom had deep postseason aspirations and expectations. Coming into this game, you're either both still in it or you're both out of it or one of you's in. Who knows? But normally when you're playing this time of year, fan emphasis, media emphasis is on playoff positioning. What are you playing for? You have been pretty articulate, I think, about the importance of playing a game to win a game. And I think Cincinnati's coach probably in the same kind of spot. Could you just talk about that for a minute? When you play, just the importance of winning a game.
Yeah, I think it's such a great thing with our game. There's so much interest. There's so much conversation. Each and every year, you don't think that more content can be generated, and you wonderful people in the media find different angles and ways to go about it, and so there's always conversations. And good conversations, but they have nothing to do with winning. So, and as a younger coach, whether it didn't go on or it didn't go on as much, but since being the head coach, it just seems, each and every year, the intensity of keeping it about what's right in front of you. We have a saying about, stay where your feet are, and we just really try to live it every day and keep focus on it. So, I really don't even like to talk or be part of the conversation if it doesn't have to do with beating the Cincinnati Bengals. I do. I just think there's almost, we're all given 17 games. We're all given, we got CBA rules. We got rules of how much time we can practice. Then you have sports science. So, you do have time limitations. And so I just think it's such a waste of time and energy when we're not always focused on winning. And it's a challenge because it's a big part of our job. This is a great opportunity here because this is not going to help us win, but I do love spending time with you, Brad. But it's just, it's part of our gig. So that's just the way I've always done as a head coach.
2 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, you played them in the stretch that Cooper played, won the game. So are both teams just changed so dramatically from then that looking at that game doesn't help you much, or is there some carryover?
I watched it early in the week just because really I just wanted to see Cooper play. Against, I forget the numbers exactly, but every week when we line up to an uncommon opponent, an AFC opponent, we always talk about the last time we played them. How many players are still on their roster, how many players are on our. Because so much of what we do in game plan is about scheme, but the reality is matchups. There's never the best film for our players is to watch themselves play against the guy that they're getting ready. That's why the division games are so important. That's why I've always taken so much pride in the preparation for division games, because that's the most information you have not only on your opponent but also on yourselves. Your self-scout really has to be in order. So, but yeah, definitely that was a good game to kind of start the weekend with last week, and I really just kind of wanted to watch him play.
And what's the difference in Cooper Rush in the last 3 or 4 weeks?
Oh, I think just clearly a number of things. Number one, he's getting all the reps. He's a lot more comfortable. It's just, the start against Philadelphia was rough. Starting from the fumble. I saw it. I didn't realize the impact of it as much until as the game went on. But so he came through that, and he's just getting a stronger connection with particularly the perimeter players, and we need to continue not only for him but the offense. Giving these guys clean concepts where they can just go out and play fast and be effective.
The quarterback on the other side, if he were playing for a team with a better record, just the way he's playing, he'd probably be very high up in the MVP conversation. What do you see in him? What's he do especially well?
I agree, Brad. I agree 100% because that's really probably what stood out to me the most about the 22 game versus how he's playing now. And I haven't seen him play a ton, but I think he's playing some of the best ball of his career. That's going to be a huge challenge for us tonight. I mean, their passing game is top notch, and the ball comes out, it's on time, it's accurate, the anticipation, the connection with the perimeter, it's a dynamic perimeter route. They got, got 4 options, and he plays the really good time clock. I mean, he steps up, he comes out, he runs the throw, he doesn't scramble to run, so his eyes are always downfield. So he's in a really good groove right now. So it's going to be important for us to hit him, get him off the spot, and get after him, because I've been very impressed with the video. Particularly how he's playing these last 4 or 5 games.
I'm going to ask you about Zach Martin in a minute, but Brock Hoffman's done a really nice job filling in for him the last couple of weeks. If we go back to training camp, Brock and TJ Bass would be kind of in competition to be the third guard. I'm taking liberties, but that's kind of what it looked like. And so is Brock settling in at right guard right now? Is that a matter partly of avoiding disruption and he's playing well, or is there still a competition between the two? What's the difference between those two guys?
Well, I think they're different players. Number one, I think Brock is a center guard. TJ's more of just a guard. So if there's ever been a year that's illustrated on the ability to play multiple positions up front, or your whole football team, this is the year. You can paint the picture pretty thoroughly with it. So, position flexibility is critical. And when the opportunity came with Brock, TJ was working more left and right. So I mean, some of that too is the way they're training during that particular time, based off the injury to Tyler Smith. What Zach was going through. Obviously, the left tackle's been back and forth. Tyler Guyton's going to go today, so young man did a great job getting himself ready to at least be available for the game today. So my point is, it has moved up and down, and I think just like anything, you got to decide who you're going to give the opportunity. And when the opportunity was given to Brock, he's definitely performed. So he's definitely deserving of being in there. So.
And finally, he's got the opportunity because of the injury to Zach. No one knows, including Zach, what his future is, but he is the age and number of years in the league that he is. What do you want to say about that man that you've had an opportunity to work with for 5 years?
I can't say enough about him. I think, number one, we all recognize the player, and that's, knowing him from afar, he's everything I thought he would be as a player. But what you don't know is the type of man that he is. Just an incredible teammate, same person every day, great personality, perfect disposition for an offensive lineman. Was talking to him today at work, and he's just really focused on getting his surgery and get healthy, and I think that's just shows you how he operates. He's really good at compartmentalizing, keeping things in order. But he's a Hall of Fame player and even a better person.
Appreciate the time. Have fun tonight.
All right, thank you, Brad.
All right, fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. Tonight's Coach's Corner brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Live here at AT&T Stadium, the Miller Lite West Plaza. Come see us if you're making your way out to the game. Broaddus, I think now's as good a time as ever before we go into the owner's box with Jerry Jones. Let's get that Zebra report, baby.
Yeah, the Zebra report. Scott Novak is going to be your official tonight. Scott officiated your game in Atlanta, the loss that you had there. If you look at the penalties that were called on the Cowboys, there were 9 of them for 55 yards. 4 of them were offensive holding penalties. They had 1 delay of game, 1 illegal use of the hands, 1 too many men on the field for offense. So got to be careful about that, about your substitutions. And then illegal formation was a call that was in this game, and that was on Guyton. So make sure, Guyton, you're up on the ball. Don't give these officials a reason to call a penalty on you. But overall, if you look at Scott Novak's crew, offensive holding is big. Defensive pass interference would be the next one. Offsides, delay of game, 8 of them. Here's another clock-watching crew. So, yeah, got to be careful. And then unnecessary roughness, 7 calls in 13 games.
Watch out, Brock Hoffman.
Yeah, so no chippiness involved here. Unsportsmanlike conduct, another big one, too. Scott Novak crew, he's going to try and keep control of this football game.
He is. Okay, so we can't get too far out of line here. I do love that nastiness of Brock Hoffman, though. Just gotta keep it keep it discreet as much as you can there, Brock. But, okay, so we've had this guy before. 9 for 55 is what the Cowboys were dinged.
That was in
versus
Atlanta. Right.
But now they're the home bunch with the Bengals in town. Troy Aikman with us earlier saying that Joe Burrow may be his favorite football player ever. How about that? And we will be fully in store for some Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase here. I saw Jamar Chase wearing his 7-Eleven shirt because he's open 24/7. But the good news for the Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs active, ready to rock and roll. For the first time ever, we're going to see Diggs, Bland, and Jordan Lewis, who's playing maybe at the height of his powers right now, all together on the field, and they're going to need it versus this passing attack. All right, we're under 45 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium, and let's go inside the owner's box with the owner and general manager of your Dallas Cowboys. It's Jerry Jones. He's next with us right here as Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Ho, ho, ho. Visiting from the North Pole, Santa has touched down at his Dallas Cowboys cottage at the Star in Frisco. Santa at the Star, presented by Monument Realty, invites you and the family to get your frame-worthy holiday photo with the Jolly Man himself at the Dallas Cowboys cottage in the Star District. Now through Christmas Eve. Packages include both print and digital options. Get on Santa's nice list and book your visit now. Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Under 40 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium, getting you set for Cowboys-Bengals Monday Night Football. Cowboys looking to make it 3 straight wins for the first time this season. Let's go into the owner's box with the owner and general manager of America's team. It's Christy Scales standing by with Jerry Jones. Christy, take it away.
Well, Jerry, as the players ran out on the field, Trayvon Diggs ran out and pointed at him, and I just wonder your excitement level of finally having Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, and Jordan Lewis all together at the same time for a regular season game.
It's kind of good to have these players on the field playing, isn't it? I know our fans are frustrated, but I really am excited about what we've got makeup-wise, personnel-wise on the defense tonight. We're going to need it, boy. This quarterback, I don't know that I would pick another quarterback. Obviously, Mahomes, a few quarterbacks like that, but he's outstanding. It's unbelievable that he's only won 4 games. He's going to give us a lot of fits. And those 3 you just talked about, they're going to have to be at the top of anything they've been about this year or last year. So we needed them this game.
And the takeaways were real key last week, led to 14 points. But I think part of that is the pass rush and having Micah back, for over a month now. Do you see that as a key disrupting Burrow as much as possible tonight?
Well, you left out number 1. I guess 13. I'm not for sure which is going to have Overshown.
Yeah.
You left out of him, but isn't he a mess? And we've, of course, counted on an extraordinary pass rush that we thought we could have this year. And then that coupled with that secondary, that was strength of our team. And that's been tough not to have that all going together, injury-wise, understanding the system-wise. If we get it together here tonight and come out here with a win, that'll be a real ratification that defense has arrived.
Let's flip it to the other side of the ball. This will be the 3rd straight week that Brock Hoffman starts for Zach Martin at right guard, and we know Zach's season is over as he has surgery coming up this week. But what do you like about Brock Hoffman? Because whenever you ask a player or coach, a teammate, they always say the same word, edge.
Well, he does have an edge. I just hope he doesn't pop somebody or push somebody after the play or something. I think he did that one game earlier this year. And that's good stuff to have, don't get me wrong. And offensive linemen, it's real important that they have that edge, they have it together. But my goodness, they have to be disciplined because one of them can ruin it for everybody with a bad judgment after the whistle or a quick start. All of that's a part of it, and is really the challenge of playing in the offensive line. But he'll take advantage of this opportunity. I know he's about to die to think about running on that field for the Dallas Cowboys.
When you played offensive line for the national championship Razorbacks, how would they describe you? Did you play with an edge through the echo of the whistle, or were you more of a technician?
You couldn't put anybody on my little banty ass because it'd drive me the end of the field backwards. I think in the Cotton Bowl I weighed 182 pounds, but I pulled on every play and got out in front of the ball carrier, or I caught at it out, hands and feet, and got in the wheels of the linebackers and tied them up. I was dead man if he got on top of me. I had to need a little help.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask about Zach Martin and your all-time favorite Zach Martin story.
Well, I think my best story was how we got Zach. And I was in that draft room thinking about Johnny Manziel, and there Zach Martin was sitting up there at guard, which wasn't our focus of coming into the draft, but there he was sticking up there right with Johnny. We had Johnny at 5, had Zach at about that high too, and good judgment prevailed and we took Zach. that.
We appreciate the visit. Thanks so much, Jerry. That's the view from the owner's box as we continue counting down to Bengals and Cowboys in prime time on Monday Night Football. Let's rejoin Bryan and Eric.
Thank you, Christy. Tonight's Owner's Box is brought to you by Yeti, the official cooler of the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I mean, he kind of just said it there. He said it in not so many words, but true serum game for the defense.
Yeah, true serum game.
That's tonight.
I'm glad Jerry was listening to the pregame show with the officials report. He was talking about, hey, don't need to jump off sides, don't need to slug anybody, don't need any of that extra stuff. He knows that Scott Novak and this crew might do something crazy in this game.
Yeah, and cat's out of the bag now on old Hoffman. You know, Zach Taylor's walking over to the rest before the game. Hey, watch this fella right here playing right guard. That ain't Zach Martin. That is Mr. Brock Hoffman, who is, he's been really good. That's been a nice
healthy body at right guard. Has actually helped steal a little bit, and maybe even help BB the center as well with some of the push that they've been able to get on these defensive tackles. Dave Lapham, the Cincinnati's colored guy, he told us, hey, they're a little light up front.
Right.
I would expect them to try and lean on these guys a little bit.
Absolutely. Got to get a Rico game going here. All right, let's get to know the enemy, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. And I think it's going to be paramount. One thing we know about the Cowboys offense really throughout the season is just their inability to finish drives and punch it into the end zone. They love settling for a field goal. They love a Brandon Aubrey 60-plus yarder. Hey, let's try and set a record. Man, versus this Bengals, you're gonna have to punch it in when you get those opportunities in the red zone. And unfortunately, the Cowboys have only scored a touchdown on 44% of their red zone possessions. That's second last in the NFL. Now, something's got to give because the Bengals are second last in the league defensively when it comes to giving up touchdowns. So opportunities will be there. But the Bengals offense is second in the sport. They get to the red zone, they are converting for touchdowns because Burrow and the accuracy, and then Chase and Higgins, the catch radius through the roof. So being able to finish drives, and I think you mentioned it earlier about McCarthy, fourth down merchant. Take a page out of Dan Campbell's book. We love Brandon Aubrey, the local legend. We don't need to be setting records out here tonight unless it's a walk-off opportunity.
Yeah, you got to know your team. You got to figure out, though, if you're driving the ball and moving the ball, play calling down the red zone really does matter. And they've done some really good stuff with some mesh concepts. If you get some men, Cooks is back in the mix, Ferguson back. You need to take advantage. You're absolutely right. Brandon Aubrey field goals tonight, no good, in my opinion, unless it's the last one to win it.
Right.
You need to find a way to put pressure on the Cincinnati defense to keep having to answer, the call. Their offense is going to move the ball. But their defense, if the Bengals defense just plays an okay game tonight, they got a great shot to win. But Dallas has got some things on defense. Jerry Jones very excited about some of the horses back with Diggs and others overshown. We'll see how that all plays out because the pressure they get on Joe Burrow and affect him in this game and maybe disrupt what goes on in the outside with these receivers, I tell you what, that can go a long way to maybe slowing down this Bengals offense.
No question. The defense trending in the right direction. The front seven speaks for itself, but now you get Diggs back with Bland and Lewis for the first time ever. How about that for Monday Night Football? We continue counting down to kickoff here. 30 minutes to a Monday Night Football kickoff here at AT&T Stadium. Let's go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. That's next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company with...
only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Under 25 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Let's go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, ladies and gentlemen. Brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Heck of a conversation there, not only with head coach Mike McCarthy, but also Troy Aikman tonight, Brad. You're on fire.
Well, let me tell you what. Mike was in a good mood, obviously. Troy, I just texted him. He just keeps getting better. He just keeps getting better. And so let me tell you, for young announcers who are listening, I have a weakness of asking questions that are too long. When you're talking to someone like Troy, you can't do it because he's going to be ready with an in-depth but abbreviated answer, and there can't be dead air. There can't be fum-fawing around. You got to be ready to go. It's a great lesson in having a conversation.
Amen. He's fantastic. I was surprised to hear him say Joe Burrow may be his favorite football player of all time. What do you see?
Well, and let me tell you, when he was playing, you couldn't shut him up about Marino. I mean, he would fanboy when he saw Marino and had to play against him once or twice. And the other thing that really caught my ear, Eric, was he flatly said he thinks Mike McCarthy will be coaching the team next year.
Yes, he sure did.
That is an attention getter for me.
Same here. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the vote of confidence now from not only Troy Aikman, but you have Dak, you have Micah, and if those guys are signing off on it, it's hard to really push back. But, I mean, and Troy mentioned it, like, this is a team that's had every opportunity to just throw in the towel and say this season's done for, but they're scratching and clawing. Now they're looking to make it 3 straight dubs.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, I do, of course, I'm one who believes there was some value in winning 12 games 3 years in a row, and a lot of people don't. They only think the playoffs matter. But so I think there's value in looking at a team that has been as injured as this one and challenged in talent in a couple of areas by their choice. It was their choice, but challenged nonetheless, and they still keep fighting, and they don't give up. They've had a couple of games that were just ridiculous blowouts. But some of the ones they've lost, the Houston game, last Monday night game before this, they're in it till late in the third quarter, so I think they've done that, fought as hard as they could until the talent caught up with them. And so now maybe they got some players back. Maybe the talent evens out a little bit.
Well, Brad Sham, you have some extra broadcast competition tonight with the Simpsons broadcast going down. You got an extra chip on your shoulder for tonight's game?
If I start going down the rabbit hole of thinking of the Simpsons as something that I have to compete with, I may as well just go sit back in the back of the booth and lay down and wait for that sushi you love to talk about.
Oh, gosh, you brought it up. Never bring up the sushi,
Way to get it, Brad.
That's what I told you. That's what I told you.
You're the man. Thank you, sir. Enjoy the game.
All
We'll
right,
be
guys,
listening.
have a great night. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, on freaking fire tonight, and the Cowboys looking to make it 3 straight. Let's go down to the turf here at AT&T Stadium. Welcome in the best sideline reporter in the business, Christy Scales. Her keys to the game brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy, what's at the top of your mind right now?
Red zone. Red zone Cowboys offense, red zone Cowboys defense. I think both teams are going to move the football tonight, but here's the thing about the Bengals on offense, and they score a lot of points, and they are excellent in the red zone. They've scored touchdowns on 27 out of 37 possessions in the red zone. That's second only to Baltimore. So you need to stop them at least a couple times, try and limit them to field goals. But that's their strength, is offensively in the red zone. For the Cowboys defense, it's their weakness. The Cowboys have given up 30 touchdowns in opponents' 37 trips into the red zone. So that ranks dead last, the Cowboys defense. So their strength, your weakness, the Cowboys need to turn that around defensively. For the Cowboys offense, they're just terrible in terms of converting. We've been talking about it all year, that they need to be better in the red zone. Second to last in the NFL offensively and touchdowns, only 14 touchdowns in just 32 possessions in the red zone. Only the Giants are worse. So again, I think that this could be a fairly high-scoring game, but if you can just stop the Bengals a time or two, limit them to a field goal, and then on the other side, make sure that you don't shoot yourself on the foot with some unforced errors, which the Cowboys have done throughout the year. The first 12 games offensively, once they get to the red zone, I think Jake Ferguson coming back after missing 2 games with a concussion, having your Pro Bowl tight end, they need to get him off the schneid and use him as a weapon in the red zone so that he can finally get a receiving touchdown.
Scoop, you're going to take the ball to start this thing if you get the chance.
I don't want to play from behind, so the Cowboys haven't played with a lead very often at home, just minutes, and so yeah, I think you can move the ball, and I think whoever wins the toss is going to take the ball tonight.
I love it. Christy, you're the best. We appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the game. We'll be listening.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
All right, before we get to prediction time, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
Under 20 minutes to kick off here live from AT&T Stadium, and it's prediction time, Broaddus, and I'll go ahead and start because I think you're going to put a nice positive bow on this one. The Bengals will give you opportunities to win, especially defensively. I cannot wait to see what this game plan is offensively for Mike McCarthy. Is he trying to hammer Rico? Is he going to try and push the ball down the field a little bit, only having to account for really one productive pass rusher in this front seven for the Bengals? But I just keep going back to Joe Burrow in this offense, and even when they go toe-to-toe versus really good defenses and they lose the game, you look up at the scoreboard and there's the first number you see is a 3. They just find ways to score, and even though he gets pressured a ton and the Cowboys will pressure him and affect him, his whole career he's just overcome it. Troy like he's never had a run game. He's never really had good protection, but we've seen Joe Burrow in an AFC Championship game. We've seen Joe Burrow in a Super Bowl. So I think it's going to be a fun one, but give me Bengals 27, Cowboys 23.
Dallas 26, Bengals 20. I think Dallas gets stops in the first half and some 2 key stops in the second half. That's going to limit Cincinnati, and then I think Dallas is going to run the ball really well tonight. Get to that 30 plateau with the number of carries. When that happens to the Bengals, they usually lose football games.
There you go, Rico going for 100 tonight. Fantasy owners, hop on board. There it is. That'll do it for the pregame show. And kickoff is around the corner. Brad, Babe, and Christy got you the rest of the way. Hey, stick around for the halftime and postgame as well with Brian Broaddus and Zach Wolchuk. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Did you know responding to one spam call can lead to more? Or that the IRS would never ask for your social security number on the phone? Beat scammers at their own game by subscribing to AARP Fraud Watch Network alerts and texts. At aarp.org/teamuptexas, you can sign up to receive information that helps you recognize and avoid the latest scams. That's aarp.org/teamuptexas.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Is your workplace on top of its game? For over 100 years, Pollock Aurora has been taking care of business, improving their bottom lines, and helping them grow with proven results that work. And this year is no exception. From keeping the workplace clean to custom packaging to shipping products and office essentials, Pollock leads the way in supplying everything Dallas workplaces need to do what they do.